Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
David Zucker, Jim Abrahams and Jerry Zucker, better known as Zucker, Abraham, Zucker, are perhaps the only three-person collaborative directors in Hollywood, and they are renowned for their slapstick, high-octane parody, and their 15 rules for comedy. In making Airplane, they had created the most successful comedy film of all time, and ignited a genre of comedy. But their last film together was not that type of spoof. It replaced rapid-fire puns with more restrained, plot-driven farce. When put in the hands of DeVito, who can play a lovable villain like no other, and Bette Midler, who can camp up any role to its peak, it becomes a total riot. And this is Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast or an adventure to watch a century of cinema decade by decade, year by year. I am one half of your hosts, Liam Delaney, and with me is...
Hello, I'm Oliver Jones.
Hello.
Hello.
And how are you doing, Oliver Jones?
I'm good. I've got a painful arm though. I had my second vid jab yesterday.
Oh, the vid. Which one did you get? Which flavour?
Which flavour? I got the Pfizer flavour. It's tasty.
I got Pfizer flavour too.
But now I'm 5G activated now, so I'm immortal now. So
congratulations. That's very good. It's good to feel immortal.
I'm the Highlander. The Clergan.
The Kurgan. The Clergan? Did you say Clergan with an L?
Is it Kurgan? Is it Kurgan?
Is it just Kurgan, isn't it?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen that film.
Someone will correct us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So you're not feeling any like kind of side effects then? You're feeling okay?
No, just the painful arm. Like I said to you earlier, I think it just depends on where they jab it into your muscle. But my arm was fine the last time, but this time it hurts. But other than that, I'm fine.
I was not well after my second Pfizer. I really wasn't. I wasn't as bad as some people have said, but I had chills and fever, and like I had a headache for like 2 days.
Wow.
And I just had every joint in my body hurt. Like every joint just hurt, and I just felt like absolute shit. I really did. I felt so bad, but it's a temporary sickness to make you well, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't really moan about it.
Fair enough.
So this is a fun vaccine podcast. We're fully vaccinated now. We should try and record one in person. That means.
Oh yeah, definitely. But after a year and a half of doing this now, yeah, I think it's about time.
Doing it remotely. Yeah. It'll be completely different. I don't know if I like it.
I know. We'll probably end up just getting drunk, and then it'll just become a blathering mess. But you're interested anyway.
In separate to the normal succinct information you get from Adjust Your Tracking.
Yeah.
Cutting information.
So what have you been up to anyway?
I haven't been up to anything. I'm boring. I'm going to a birthday party this weekend. I'm going to a barbecue and going camping. That's what's happening this weekend.
Oh, nice.
So, and it's meant to rain. So it's going great. So after all like July that was ridiculous heat and sunny every single day, the weekend we got booked for camping, it's going to piss it down. So typical.
Whereabouts are you going?
Somewhere in the Midlands.
Oh, okay, so not too far then.
No, not too far. Not too far at all.
Oh,
it's only for like a night. It's only really so we can go drunk.
When you said birthday party, in my head, like a McDonald's birthday party popped up in my head with like Ronald McDonald and all that. I don't know why.
Do you reckon they still have McDonald's birthday parties?
What, where you sit on the little toadstool seats and...
Yeah, and the waitress comes over with like a silver tray of cheeseburgers.
It's a fancy cheeseburger. Yeah. Silver platter.
Stacked high like Ferrero Rocher.
And if you went to a party of like a richer kid, you actually got Ronald McDonald. And if it was like a poorer kid, like probably my family, we didn't have Ronald McDonald.
Does Ronald even still exist? I don't think Ronald turns up to McDonald's parties if they do them. I think Ronald's cancelled.
Invited or uninvited, he just turns up. Hello.
Yeah, no, they lock the doors to stop him getting in. Stay away from the kids.
Is he even a mascot anymore? Do they use him?
I don't think they use him. I don't think they use him at all. I haven't seen him as... I think only old people remember Ronald McDonald.
He's pretty horrific looking, like a weird, like, red, white and yellow clown. No thanks.
There's a weird history of him, isn't it? Because of clowning in America was a big thing that was in local kind of communities. So, like, if you grew up in like Washington, you'd know a different local clown than you did if you grew up in like Chicago or something. And it was
I thought you were going to say it was like Crips and Bloods. There was like different like clown fractions.
There were, because they're all competing for like business,
right?
And like slowly, like they would like slowly risen to the crop were basically these famous like clowns. And I think there was one called Bozo the Clown,
right?
And Bozo was like originally from Florida or something, which I think one of the main McDonald's offices is from.
Oh, okay.
Not the first, but maybe like the franchise head is there or something like that. This could all be wrong information. And so they basically end up buying the rights for like Bozo or something, and they've turned him into Ronald McDonald as their mascot. But it was based on like something that was recognisable at the time as like a kind of not famous celeb, but like a TV kind of fixture for kids on local television.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I told you that.
But I was trying to Gacy. I was trying to think of what Gacy's clown name was, but I think it was Pogo.
Pogo, that's a good clown name.
Yeah, Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was Pogo, and Patches the clown, I think.
Patches.
I wonder if he was part of the crew.
The murdering.
Yeah. We had there was a local clown around certain Birmingham that went to all the kids' birthday parties. I can't remember his name though. I think it began with a P. This is going to go nowhere.
This is going to go nowhere. It's probably Pogo. Little Pozzo. Pomo.
Yes.
Clowns are weird. And I don't think Gacy was actually a clown when he was murdering people as well. I think that's a misnomer. I think he had worked as a clown in the past.
Yeah, I don't think he was dressed up as a clown when he was killing people, no.
Well, no, but even he wasn't working as one whilst he was killing people, I think.
I
think it's something like that. Again, that could be also wrong information. Like, we are not Gacy podcast. Just talking shit.
Hey guys, it's Ollie here. Just to let you know, we're going to get into some spoilers on some of the films we've watched. So, we're talking Black Widow, Space Jam, Fear Street 1 and 2 and 3, as well as Loki, amongst other things. So if you don't want to be spoiled, or you just don't want to hear us withering on about various movies, please skip ahead about an hour and 5 minutes. See you later.
Should we get on some films? What have you watched, Ollie?
Well, I mean, it's been a while since we actually last recorded. So it's been a while. So I watched the 2 Fear Street sequels.
Okay, yeah.
They're okay. The second one is more of like a 70s slasher film, isn't it?
Yeah.
The third one kind of goes into more of that kind of, the Vivitch kind of setting, but with a kind of like a bit of a American Horror Story kind of twist, where the main characters from the previous films are the people in the past, or she sees herself and her friends as the people in the past, don't they?
I liked everyone playing like the characters from the past. I thought that was fun.
I get it on one hand, because then you kind of attach to them a bit more than if they were just like some randoms. But I don't know, it all felt a bit American Horror Story, and I don't know if you've ever watched that show. It's like the campest, like, don't get me wrong, I love a bit of camp, but like it gets a bit much, and like it just kind of oozed. This film kind of oozed it, and then at the end it kind of cuts back to like 1994, doesn't it? And they kind of have a big showdown. Yeah, I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I don't think so. But I thought it was okay. I preferred the second one. I think the first part was still my favourite one.
I think the first one's my favourite as well. I know I liked them all relatively equally, I think, really. But I think I preferred, maybe had more fun with the first one, I don't know. But really didn't know where it was going, I guess, as well, so it gives you a bit more of that, really, when you first watch it. But
this might be a bit of a spoiler, but it's definitely very Goosebumpsy, the whole kind of the shady side and then the sunny side, or whatever they're called. You know what I mean? Like one side gets all the shit on the other, and then the main villain, you find out
Springfield and Shelbyville.
Yeah, the main villain's called Good, the hero or whatever is Fear or whatever, and
that's a spoiler.
I guess so. But
we need to put
yeah,
general spoiler warnings on.
But like, I'll put one up. But when Fear Street, the second one, came out, we tried to stream and it just wouldn't stream. It was like full on pixelated. So we watched Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark instead, which I think is like a Guillermo del Toro produced film, which again is based on like young novel, what do you call it?
Young
adult kind of horror stories. And what they've done with this is they've taken like 4 of the stories and kind of compiled it into one narrative. So it's not like a Twilight Zone anthology film. It's kind of got like a bit like Fear Street, probably. I actually learnt one thing in Fear Street. When they all get changed in the school in the first one, when they kind of about to take down the monsters for the first time, and they get changed, and they all have sex with one another, and they apparently the clothes they change into are the clothes from the front covers of the books. So that was quite interesting.
That's nice.
But anyways, so Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Caroline didn't realise that it wasn't Fear Street. Because they're in tone, they're pretty very similar, and then Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is set in the 70s as well, so it's kind of like a bit of it's set in the 60s, I think, 'cause it's during the time of Vietnam, because one of the characters is a draft dodger.
Vietnam went into the 70s.
Yeah, I guess so, but I think it was the early 60s, but late 60s, sorry. But that was okay, I guess. It kind of sets up a sequel that I don't think will ever happen.
No, okay.
But I think Fear Street, the plan with that is they want to do it as like they want to do it like the multiverse of horror films or something like that. That's what the woman who directed it was quoted as saying. So I'm sure we'll see more of those. Yeah,
I want to see more of those. I don't really want anyone using the term multiverse for any film that exists. But I want to see more. I enjoy them. They're fun. Oh, and I've got a question to ask you though. So okay, I definitely will put a spoiler warning at the beginning. So you know how we were talking about how the main characters were lesbian in the first one. It's quite casual and it's just kind of that's how it is. Yeah.
But then in the third one, it's set up that it's all about that, isn't it? So it's kind of about a lesbian. It all comes across because it's kind of about toxic, like males kind of not being able to get what he wants. So basically, and it's about it's basically about two lesbians, isn't it, that kind of get together, and he's unhappy because he wants to wed the one girl. And what I was trying to get at was, what do you think of like it being more kind of just discreet and just kind of not discreet, but just kind of more relaxed as opposed to being like the full-on thrust of the narrative? Do you know what I mean?
Do you mean like about it changing throughout the series as it becomes a bit more explicit?
Yeah.
I kind of like it because once you've introduced those elements in a way that just feels natural, why not tell a story with them, and make it the thrust of the narrative? Like if it was about, I don't know, a person's married to a guy who's a dickhead and she has an affair with another man, we wouldn't really be asking the question or anything like that. So it's nice just to tell queer horror, I think.
Yeah, I was only asking because it didn't bother me, but I've just read a few reviews and listened to a few podcasts where people kind of turned on it at that point. I was like, well, I don't quite agree with that. But
I would say it barely crossed my mind.
Yeah,
if I'm very honest, because I just was already in the world and tell the stories kind of thing. It's not like, I don't know, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 or something, which has that whole queer reading about it and stuff like that. It's not like that. It's much more just the narrative, really.
Definitely.
I liked it.
What else you watched?
Oh, I thought we were doing you.
Oh, well, do me. I mean, some of the ones I've watched, you've watched as well. So, Black Widow.
Yeah, I watched Black Widow. That you can hear it from my voice.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not it's one of the most anonymously directed Marvel films, I think. There's nothing baked into it that was particularly exciting. It's not exciting anyway, because it falls into good old prequel traps where it can't do anything with its narrative.
Yeah, because you already know the fate of the character.
Because you know everything. You know everything. So you just, I don't know, it just felt like running in circles, frankly. I almost don't know why they couldn't have done this film and not set it in the past. You know, what they could have done this film with Florence Pugh just learning about Scarlett Johansson's death and just done it in the present instead of doing a flashback. You know, just remove Scarlett from it, but have her as like an element to the film, you know, because they can tell stuff in flashback within the film rather than setting the whole film in the past. I guess they didn't think it would sell without Scarlett in it as the main character, as the only female character in Marvel. I
mean,
I don't know.
She falls so many times in this film and lands like perfectly. Like, so I don't know how she didn't survive the bit in Endgame. Like if this film had come out beforehand and they kind of did a bit of a setup where she's falling all the time and landing, and then someone does a quip to her going, you know, one of these days you're not going to land one of those or something. But,
that's some great screenwriting.
Yeah, I know. That's why they pay me the big bucks.
I don't know. It's just the whole I liked Florence Pugh. Good things. I liked Florence Pugh. I really like her anyway, and I liked her in this. And not, like, apart from the accent.
I don't know why you had to have a backstory for a fucking vest. I like my vest. It's got all the pockets.
I literally didn't realise until you said to me that it was like a call forward callback to actually something she wears. I didn't even like register that this was this was like a meme or something in Marvel films, or I don't know why they fixated on it.
But also, it's like, why was she not present in Endgame then? Because, you know, everyone, she would have known us. She would have known her sister is now a Black Widow or whatever. So
well,
why was she?
I guess you can always argue they got clicked.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But Infinity War, there's no reason why she couldn't have been in it. And why was Black Widow upset anyway in Infinity War? Because the end of this film's a happy ending. They make a family again. So why does he then get moody again about not having family? I don't know. It just didn't. A lot of it didn't work for me. I thought like the film starts picking up when David Harbour comes into it. I thought David Harbour had a really fun like kind of portrayal. But he does nothing. And they give him nothing. It's not his fault. They give him nothing. And like the whole story is almost about his like redemption as a father and like building that family back in again. But he doesn't have any payoff. And it's just one of those things that I know he's going to get a payoff in like 5 fucking films, you know. And it's just like, do it in this one. And he should have died. He should have died in this film saving his daughters. Like that's the arc. Instead they just don't do anything. I thought Rachel Weisz was really good in this. I really like her. Like, doesn't have anything to do, really.
Yeah.
And Taskmaster is just fucking ruined. Like that wasn't Taskmaster the character. Like that wasn't any of that personality of that character.
The only Russian person they hire in the film doesn't
talk,
doesn't speak a word. It's bizarre.
And it's not a twist when you see that person's been kind of on. She's in the like head credits. It's not a twist when you reveal later on the person who's not got like behind a mask the whole film is the person. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just annoys me when they do that.
Olga Kurylenko, whatever her name is, she's like 5-6 years older than Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett Johansson is supposed to have killed her when she's a child. So I don't understand. I'm not saying that Olga Kurylenko looks old or anything, because she doesn't. She looks, you know, pretty great. Yeah. But like, it's just weird. I don't know. Like, you know, it's a weird little thing. I feel like most of the positive reviews are absolutely like back to the cinema kind of excitement. Yeah. It's just
honestly,
I agree.
Because it had so little for me. It just had so little in it to be excited about, really, and that just disappointed me. And Ray Winston was shit. I'm sorry, I love Ray Winston, but he was shit. His accent was absolutely god awful, and like I hate it. They just give a villain, and it's just like, yeah, now you just sit behind this desk, and that's your job. And it's just in
his little Cloud City place, and
little Cloud City place. I don't know.
But other than that, have you seen the trailer for the new Jackass film?
I haven't actually.
Forever.
No, I haven't.
So, like, I was thinking, like, as a kid, you know, when we were like 16, 17, I was all about Jackass because, you know, used to go around my skateboard and my video camera. So I was always end up filming, you know, mates like larking around, like running around with shopping trolleys or jumping into bushes and stuff like that. You know, it's just part of my childhood. But I thought, I think I'm done with Jackass. You know, I'm not really bothered. Yeah. But I'll watch the trailer anyway. And the trailer just put a big smile on my face.
Cool.
And I don't know why. So I thought, I kind of want to watch all the Jackass films again now. So I literally binged all of the ones that were on Netflix.
Cool.
Including Action Point. I don't know if you've heard of Action Point.
I have heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
So it's not an actual Jackass movie, but it's got Johnny Knoxville and Chris Pontius or whatever his name is. And
is it Jackass Presents like Dirty Grandpa?
No, it's not. It's not. But the idea is it's kind of got a story, but it's got real stunts in it, like Bad Grandpa. But again, in Action Point, he does dress up as an old grandpa because it's kind of based on Action Park, which I think was a place in New Jersey.
I think we spoke about the documentary actually before.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a fictionalized version of that, and it just didn't really work. Like, it's trying to be like a bit of a Meatballs or something like that, you know, kind of like a summer camp kind of film. Or, you know, did you ever see Adventureland?
No, I didn't.
You know, it's Adventureland with Kirsten Stewart and Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg, yeah. No,
yeah, really good film. Okay. And it kind of gets that kind of summer holiday vibes before, you know, they're going to college and they're kind of earning some money before. But, you know, like if Action Point kind of dialed into that more, I think it'd have been a lot more interesting. And I understand why they had the stunts in it, because Action Point was known for being like insane. You know, people died at that park and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think something more interesting could have been made out of it, but it was just wafer thin. But then I watched all the Jackass movies because they're all on Netflix. I mean, there's not really much to talk about, really. You know, they're kind of just people being idiots, really. Yeah, but the ones I'd never seen before were like the half movies. So they've got Jackass 2.5 and Jackass 3.5, and they're kind of more like documentaries, but with kind of deleted footage or stunts that didn't quite go to plan or kind of work as they thought they would.
Right, yeah.
And like if you watch the Jackass movies, they're all laughing and joking, because that's one of the things about Jackass that I think works is it's the reactions to the stunt, not necessarily the stunt itself.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Which is one of the things Action Point doesn't have, because it doesn't have the real reactions to people like pissing themselves at someone hurting themselves. It doesn't have that. So it's kind of
it's like it's the weird little family element to it. That's what people really, really liked and what they tapped into. So with the main Jackass movies, it all feels like all fun and games, but there's a bit of a it comes across as a bit more mean-spirited in these documentaries, and I think just framing it as a documentary and that, it just comes across as a bit mean, and you know, you feel like some of them are a bit more bullied than others and stuff like that, and that made me a little bit sad. But right.
And you know, you've got the fourth one coming out, and it won't have like Bam Margera's not in it, because like Bam Margera is just a complete mess of a human being. Yeah. And then obviously Ryan Dunn won't be in it because he died, which I think is probably one of the reasons why Bam Margera is a mess of a human being now.
Maybe, yeah, sure.
I mean, he always came across as a bit of an arsehole anyway. Like, you know, whenever there was a stunt that involved him, kind of the mick being taken out of him, he didn't like it. He was happy to dish it out, but never happy to receive it.
And he never really did anything. He never really did any stunts apart from pissing off other people. That was his whole like shtick, was like being like someone to get other people to react angrily at him. That's the ones that have aged worse, I think.
It's like somehow Johnny Knoxville, even though he dishes out a lot, he comes across as quite likeable in my opinion. You know, I don't know why. I don't know if he's like the dad of the crew or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And like, but the thing is, he can take it though. So in like Jackass 3.5, there's like when they did a premiere of the film, they made like a little short film that Johnny Knoxville didn't know about, and apparently Johnny Knoxville had sun cream that he'd put on every day when he was filming. Okay. But in Jackass style, they put horse cum inside of his suntan. He didn't know, so every day he was putting this suntan lotion on with horse cum on. But like, his reaction to it was pretty good, and he took it all in good humour.
There's like I can't remember what it is. I'm not going to get it. Yeah, there was an interview from years ago. It was like 2006 or something like that. and it was like an interview with, I think it might be Out magazine, you know, like the gay magazine, and they were interviewing like the Jackass people, and this was years before any kind of this was a thing, and they were just asking them about the fact that they were talking to Johnny Knoxville, saying like the stuff you do is really kind of gay, like the show you do is really gay, and he was like they were asking about that, and he was just like, honestly, this was our kind of like fuck you to kind of like the, you know, the studio executives or the kind of heteronormative shit that you put up with, like the kind of toxic masculinity is ours. Like, yeah, we're all straight, but we're going to be gay as fuck, 'cause fuck you to have an issue with it, kind of thing. And I always remember that, like.
They'll have a dildo on a rocket, and then someone's up above it with their ass exposed, and the rocket just shoots up their bum. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's totally silly. Like, it's kind of fratty, because they're all kind of the way they are, but they're always topless with no clothes on, hanging out in their hotel rooms, like giving each other paper cuts or doing it. It is bizarre, but I love it all the same. You know, it's good. It's just. Juvenile,
it's very nostalgia for me as well.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it in years, but it's very nostalgia. Do you remember like the Welsh Jackass, Dirty Sanchez?
That was definitely more mean-spirited, if I remember.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. I was going to do you remember they had a movie as well? The Dirty Sanchez movie.
I saw it. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay, there's a deleted scene in that didn't make it, and I'll tell you what happened in it.
Okay.
So for the whole duration of the film, each member jerked off into a bottle.
Jesus
and then
Christ.
The idea was that the loser of some task then had to have a facial of all three of their or four of their semens mixed together. It was delightful.
Lovely.
Yeah.
lovely film.
But Pritchard now, though, the main guy of that, he's like a vegan kind of like mindfulness kind of guy, and like really got his shit together, and he's like apparently meant to be like a real shining light in the kind of mindfulness space and stuff like that.
Okay, because he kind of comes across as one of those like what were they called? Like what were they called? When like the tricks or the game, like, you know, giving you tips how to pick up women using secrets. He always came across as like one of those guys to me. like negging and shit like that, whatever that stuff is called.
Well, I guess like anyone, people may have just, you know, hopefully some people who may have some toxic ways about them may realise that and kind of grow up and change their ways. So maybe he did that. I don't know.
He has a cookbook called Dirty Vegan.
There we go.
There we go. It's meant to be quite good. I don't know if it is or not.
They always felt more like
proper banging vegan food.
Dirty Sanchez, if I remember, they were less skatery than like Jackass, and a bit more like roadside kind of, you know, like geeks and all that could bite the heads off chickens and stuff like that, or put nails through their nose. They did shit like that, I think. Like, circus freaky kind of stuff, I think.
It was much more about the kind of weird violent stuff and like the hammering nails into stuff. I seem to remember lots of vomiting. I seem to remember Dirty Sanchez was lots of vomiting, which I don't have any time for that.
Like Jackass was mainly just punching people in the balls, or like someone standing in like the like, that's the one thing I love about the movies. Like, they've got these great intros. So the first one is like them all being chased by bulls, and but it's shot so well. And, like, it's just nuts that, like, people like Spike Jonze are, like, part of the Jackass crew. And, like, you know, he's, like, the producer. And he does some of the stunts and, like, wears the old age makeup. Like, he dresses up as an old lady that's kind of got her boobs hanging out and just go up to men and stuff like that.
It's, I always remember it that the stuff I liked is when they would kind of build something stupid themselves to ride. So it was stuff like them building, like, a big ramp to roll down in, like a wagon or something like that. That kind of stuff, like, always looked fun to me. The
best one is, like, you know, like a seesaw where you go up and down.
Yeah,
they did a 4-way one of those, but in a ball pit. And so there's this ball just charging around, and they're all trying to launch themselves up in the air so this ball didn't get them.
I can't believe that still exists.
Good stuff. So what else have you watched?
I watched a few things. I can go through one of them really quick. I watched Space Jam: A New Legacy, and it's not as bad as you think it would be, but it's really bad. Well, like, it's not, because I thought it was going to be the worst thing I'd ever watched, frankly, but it's not.
Right.
But it's awful. Like, it is awful, and the worst thing about it is the Looney Tunes stuff, I think. Like, it doesn't, I don't know. The whole thing's weird. It's just so, it's such an obsession with franchise that it's painful.
So is it less centric on the Looney Tunes than like the first one then?
Yeah, kinda. It just needs to be more about the Looney Tunes and less about like LeBron James, I think. Because it's all about LeBron James like parenting issues. But well, I don't know. That's not really LeBron James, is it? Like, so it's not really about the real person, LeBron James, and it's not really about where the kind of Looney Tunes are in culture, which is the two things this was kind of begging to be. It wanted to be more like the kind of Muppets film with the 2011 one. About
Jason Segel one.
Yeah, the Jason Segel one, to get like the band back together kind of thing. And it threatens to do that. And then it does like, it goes to all the planets of the Warner Bros. Verse or something. And but that scene's a lot less than you think it's going to be. I thought it was going to be a whole film of just going into like Mad Max and going into Casablanca. And that scene's not long, actually. They get the band back together very quickly. But then, then it's just...
So hang on. So they're going into other worlds. Does that mean characters from the Looney Tunes are hiding out in other worlds or something, like the Casablanca world or something?
They got banished, maybe? Or they left. I don't know. I don't know. Bugsy's on his own at the start, anyway.
In the first Space Jam, aren't the Toons, they kind of live in the centre of the Earth or something like that, or there's a portal?
Yeah, there's like a portal in the centre of the Earth that sends them to the Toon world or Toon space or whatever. Yeah. This is all in the servers of Warner Bros. And then, like, literally, the film's like 2 hours and something long, and then literally this basketball match goes on for like most of the film, like well over an hour. And it's just really boring, and it's all I don't know. It's such a weird, boring film that doesn't know what it's wanting to do, and I'm sure it'll be a huge hit and everyone will love it, and whatever. I don't know, but it's just so not about the Looney Tunes, and it doesn't give him anything to do, really. And I don't know. Like, bearing in mind they're actually making Looney Tunes right now. They're making like Looney Tunes cartoons right now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they've done loads of them, quite a lot of them, and they're meant to be quite good. And I think they're all on whatever streaming service. Is it HBO Go that Warner Bros. Has? So I think they're all available on that.
Right.
But like, they almost should be pushing, and I have been told they're good, but they should be pushing them at like as their property. You know, this should have been the big thing to say, like, you know, we're the fucking Looney Tunes, and you love these characters, and push them in that way. But I don't think they really do that. I don't think they really get to the core of why people like these, 100-year-old characters, and they should be pushing them in like Pixar shorts at the beginning of Warner Bros.
I was going to say they should put them at the beginning of films for sure. Yeah,
I don't know why they're not. That's their selling point. Go watch a Warner Bros. Film and you get like a 15-minute like Bugs Bunny sketch.
Birds of Prey, you could totally put a Looney Tunes like at the beginning of something like that, or like even Suicide Squad that's coming out now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could kind of tailor it a bit more to that kind of.
But that's the way you build a brand.
Something. Yeah,
not
totally.
this. Not by just sitting in one film and yelling at people that we have a brand. You like Mad Max? Look, that's us. You like Casablanca? You like Matrix? That's us. Like, and it's really pathetic because it's like they're trying to do what Disney's done, but Disney have done it. Not I wouldn't say they've done it successfully, but they've done it through like really pushing the kind of ownership of these properties. And Warner Bros. Have never really done that. Like, no one watches this and cares that like Warner Bros. Owns, I don't know, the Iron Giant, or like Warner Bros. Owns like the Flintstones, I guess, or Warner Bros. Owns, I don't know what other things are in this film. It's for like Scooby-Doo. I don't think people think about it that way. And if they want to think about it that way, then they have to do more than just crowd shots. things. And apparently the crowd shots are so weird as well, and the kind of the mix of the odd characters that you see around the crowd shots are entirely because of legal stuff. So it was all to do with like kind of copyright lawyers sitting around in boardrooms going, look, you can't use Humphrey Bogart because we'll be sued by his estate, but you can use the people from like, you know, Clockwork Orange because that's just a costume. Like you can use like the mask from like Jim Carrey, but you can't use, you know, so on and so forth. You can't use, you know, and that way. And it was all decided. Like that's why like things like the guys from Fury Road, the boys from Fury Road, that's why they're prominent. That's why like people like the nuns from the Devils are prominent and stuff. And that's why characters like the Penguin and Mr. Freeze are prominent because they're all their characters.
Prosthetic costumes as opposed to
rather than it being the actual images of the people in the films, which they can't use. And that's why, like, so that's why it's not like Neo isn't there watching it, but you know, the agents are there. Amorphous agents are kind of
because they're just generic guys with glasses and a suit.
So that's why like stuff like that is really prominent, and that's why stuff like the cartoons are as well. But it was just lawyers going like, no, you can't use any of that. You can't use any of that, like, and that's just how the kind of film was built, frankly. And it feels like that, really.
Also, so does Batman appear in the backgrounds of shot and stuff like that, or not really?
There's a bit on the DC planet where like you kind of meet the Justice League, and they're in a Bruce Timm style, basically.
Oh, okay.
And I think Batman's there. I think
hand drawn or CGI or
it's CGI, but it's faux Bruce Timm style. And I think you see like Adam West and Burt Ward era Batman and Robin at the sides as well. I think I remember seeing them. Because again, it's more of a costume rather than putting like Humphrey Bogart there or something like that. It's weird. It's a weird thing to exist. It really is.
Well, I think it went through a few directors, didn't it? While it was filming as well.
I think so. I think Malcolm Lee, who was brought on at the end, was really brought on just to kind of guide it.
Because I'm pretty sure this film was announced a long time ago. And I'm sure it even shot many, many years ago. And I'm sure, obviously, COVID didn't help. But I'm sure it was wrapped well before COVID.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was wrapped.
So I just have a feeling they were just... didn't know what they would do with it. Just kind of...
And I think a lot of it, you're talking about the copyright stuff. They shoot the film. Obviously, they're not shooting with actual people in the background for the basketball match.
So that's all they're doing, the post, Yeah,
and that's what the posters involved, is them going through their archives and having big checklists of who they can put in these crowd shots, really. I think that's mainly the production of the film.
How's LeBron compared to, like, Michael Jordan? Because Michael Jordan, let's face it, was not very good in that film.
I think LeBron's all right, actually. I think he can probably carry something. He's not, like, terrible. And he has a couple of quite funny moments. I know LeBron's a really weird person. I know nothing about basketball. Like, I even said to someone the other day, I realised that I've never watched a basketball match. The entire thing I know about basketball is from films. And like from like Space Jam or He Got Game and stuff. That's entirely how I know basketball.
White men can't jump.
Yeah, totally. But like, I know LeBron James is quite a complicated character, and he's not he's not seen as like a nice guy. Like, he's very cynical in the way that he moved from team to team. He's very cynical in the way that he kind of built a team for success explicitly, kind of thing. And he navigated his career that way, rather than just being the idea of like kind of Michael Jordan was at the Bulls, I think, for like forever, you know, like, and he was just loved there because he was their star player. LeBron James has jumped around, I think, gone to like smaller teams like the Cavaliers and then lifted them up to make him a star, kind of thing. And I think and he's kind of always been a bit fence sittery in the way that he talks about like issues and stuff like that, not outspoken in like his beliefs. And anytime he has said something, it's always caused a problem. That kind of like, he's not especially a really well beloved guy. And I don't think Michael Jordan was either, but at least Michael Jordan had the image of it before that kind of it got into the murky world of Michael Jordan.
He has a logo, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's that image. You know, I had a pair of Air Jordans when I was a kid, and you know, they had I don't think they were real. I think they were bootleg ones, but they had the image.
I knew who he was because of that. I was watching Space Jam in the 90s because of the shoes. You know,
the pump shoes.
Yeah. And I just think it's weird to do a film about him playing his real self when it actually doesn't touch on anything about him as a real person, and even like incorporate into the script the stuff that makes him a kind of complicated figure. Doesn't really do that, really. It's just a lot of branding stuff. And even the film, it says, like, the film itself is basically Hook. That's the story of the film, which is really weird to make Hook again.
Right.
It's a weird choice, I think. When like there was different, like I think it just needed to be a little more Looney Tune about the plot or something. They needed more drive to be characters in it, like, and they didn't really. It's a weird.
I'm just looking at your letterbox. You cheated. I thought we were going to do Logan Lucky for the 2010s.
Yeah, I forgot and I watched it.
You're naughty. Yeah, you've watched loads.
Yeah, I did watch a lot.
I actually quite liked Hesher. That was a good film.
Hesher's great.
Yeah.
Hesher's great.
Isaac the movie.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry, Isaac's a friend of ours.
Hesher's really good. I recommend Hesher. It's a surprisingly weird film. I also watched Mitchell's vs. the Machines, which is the best animated film I've watched this year, and everyone should watch it.
I know someone who worked on that.
Oh, really? Cool.
The lighting supervisor, so they kind of... Yeah. But that's
It's
kind
really
of like
good.
the same team that did Spider-Verse, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
So,
yeah, because it is. The producers are Phil Lord and Chris Miller. But it kind of, I feel like it didn't do anything when it just appeared on Netflix. And I just watched it today, and it's brilliant. I really loved it, and it's like loud and energetic and weird, and yeah, it's really cool.
No, I do want to watch that. I mean, the only thing I've watched on Netflix, I watched all of He-Man, Masters of the Universe.
Oh yeah, I haven't bothered.
Honestly, it's good fun. Like, it's not visually, it's not my kind of animation style. I prefer more fluid, kind of a bit more simplified looking characters, and that they're like super detailed, like anime looking kind of characters.
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea, and it's very gaudy, kind of garish. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but it's very. There's lots of colour and everything everywhere, and it kind of it's very. The problem I have with a lot of modern animation, it looks too sharp.
Yeah, okay.
So if you ever look at the animations that I do, and like whenever Brandon works on them, we kind of pull them back a bit, kind of make them look we kind of make them look a bit blurry or a bit to make it look a bit more filmic. That's what. But I sometimes
make it a bit more lived in.
Yeah, like I think you can go too far with that stuff where it looks ridiculous, like too Asian stuff. But I think especially with stop motion, that like the camera's so close to the character, it can look really too sharp. Same with the hand drawn, like because it's all done on computers and stuff. It just looks a bit too sharp and a bit too crisp for my liking. But if they put a little bit of a aged filter on that to kind of merge it into that like 80s thing, I think that would have been really cool. But I don't know. But it's got a lot of heat on it, and a lot of people are very upset about it, and they're all a bunch of fucking babies. Grow up. It's a cartoon about toys.
I think they cultivated that though. I think all the marketing towards that film was terrible, and the way Kevin Smith was selling it was fucking terrible as well.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help when they're saying like the show's all about He-Man, and he's like only in 2 of the episodes. But like, so it was a bit of like poking the.
Well, it's only the first 5, isn't it? Which I think that's something they never really said either. I think it's I think they've kind of done this because they kind of poked the fucking tiger and then got mad that it bit them. That's what happens with fan culture. All the fucking marketing to this was Kevin Smith going, this is one for the proper fans who love the 80s series, and now it's the 80s series, but actually they kill each other and it's proper awesome now, and I promise that I'm going to deliver that. And it's like, don't fucking pander to them, because they will hate you. That's what they do. That's what fan culture does.
It's exactly the same as what happened with Last Jedi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although I don't think Last Jedi had any false advertisement about it.
I don't think it is.
But no, I actually quite liked it, so I thought it was all right. They're only like 21 minutes, 22 minutes each, so you just sit there and it just kind of washes over you. It's not like, I don't know, it's just an easy breezy watch. Okay, what else have you watched? Anything else?
Did I watch anything else? I watched Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn Part 2.
You thought this was better than the third film.
Then I started spoilers for fucking Breaking Dawn, but there's a whole scene in it where it goes absolutely batshit and they all kill each other, and then it's revealed to be like a flash forward, like a kind of a, and that seems fucking amazing. Like that film, I love that film. Breaking Dawn Part 2 is wonderful. It's so like off the leash of a film, but like I started listening to recordings of fans watching it in the cinema, like people recording like the kind of reactions of people who had no idea what was going on, and then suddenly like the dad, is it whatever his name is, Mr. Cullen. Because suddenly he gets decapitated and all shit breaks loose, and this is not from the books, and it's not something that was in the books, and it's all wild and it's all weird, like, and just listening to those reactions of people losing their ever loving mind, and then the kind of reveal that it's all a flashback, and then them losing their mind again because they realised they were got by the kind of filmmaking, made me really happy. And it was like, and that's kind of what a film should do, is kind of elicit reactions from people, and like the ending of Twilight is so boring anyway, to give people actually a bit of like excitement, and this is what the ending could have been kind of thing, I think really works.
I can't even remember how it ends, to be honest.
It ends on a whimper. Like, they basically go, oh, actually, that you can be a human vampire thing, and we quite like them. Okay, we're going, and the Michael Sheen goes home. Right, basically, that's that kind of it, really. I don't know, I just have a lot of love for that film. And I'm watching all the Twilights. That last one, I thought, that's actually really good, and I really like it.
It is fun when a film just owns its silly nature and just kind of goes hell for leather with it. It just goes for it.
I guess that's kind of it, what I've been watching, really. I've been watching a lot of bad films recently because I'm doing this. You know, CinemaScores?
Yeah, vaguely.
The things they get audiences to fill out, like letter scores after they see a film, and it grants them like a cinema score. So it's like A to F. So me and a bunch of people have been doing the CinemaScores F challenge to watch all the films that have been ranked F by CinemaScores. And,
how many films are those?
There's not many. There's only like 23, I think there are.
Oh, okay.
And but some of them are god awful. I've been watching
name some.
Well, Bolero, which is like a weird soft porn, starring what's her name? She was like a famous like Bo Derek.
Oh, okay.
That film is F. That film deserves it.
Didn't her dad direct that or something?
Is it her dad, or isn't it like husband, John Derek?
John Derek, was it her husband?
Yeah, I think, and like basically he just shot a ton of like soft porn films, with her in it during like the 70s and 80s or something. I think that was their career. Dr. T and the Women, which was the last, I think it was the last, what's his name film? John Altman film.
Oh, okay.
With Richard Gere. Robert Altman. That film's an F. I hate that film. It's awful. But then, like, there's others like Solaris is on there, the kind of Steven Soderbergh film.
That's an F. I wouldn't have thought that's an F.
That doesn't deserve an F.
No, it's not. The original's better, but like,
yeah,
it doesn't deserve an F.
In the Cut, which is 2003 Jane Campion film. With like Meg Ryan and Mark Ruffalo. Fucking awesome film. Does not deserve an F at all. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with audiences in 2003.
I've seen that one. It's like a proper decent like psychological thriller, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah, decent like kind of like crime thriller and stuff like that. Doesn't deserve an F at all. Bug by William by Friedkin.
That's an F. No, I like Bug.
That got an F. No way should I get an F. That film is so good. Like, and as I said to you, it's like a kind of X-Files without kind of Mulder and Scully in it.
Yeah.
Killing Them Softly, the Andrew Dominic film with Brad Pitt in it. Like that kind of about.
I
like,
actually thought that was all right.
It's a good film.
Yeah.
Like some of these are not Fs. Like, and also one of the revelations for me that I never watched it before was Richard Kelly's film The Box from 2009.
That's actually quite good.
Cameron Diaz. It's really good. I was watching it going, I wish they made more films like this. I was having such a good time with it. I can't believe that's...
It's like Richard Kelly's in like Hollywood jail though, isn't he, I think?
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, so he made Donnie Darko, which became a cult classic.
Yeah.
Then Southland Tales, which I think most people just hate because it's just really weird.
I liked it. It's fine.
I'd like to
It's
watch
fine.
the director's cut. I think,
Yeah.
which I think is available now on Arrow on their Blu-rays. But
Oh, right.
but the box I really quite like because is it Frank Langella who's kind of got half a face and stuff.
Yeah. The box is a proper like Twilight Zone like script in a film. Basically, that's all it's doing. And like, if you like those kind of like moral sci-fi tales, it's got it all there. It's enclosed. It's not trying to do anything bigger. It's really fun.
If I remember, it was based like on a short story I think called like Button, and it was like adapted into a Twilight Zone episode, and then he expanded on it into a film. I
really liked it. And there we are, like The Wicker Man's there by with Nicolas Cage, and
I enjoyed that.
I'm sorry, that is not an F. That is so much fun. That is not a bad film. Like the shit that got is unreasonable because that is fun. And like Nicolas Cage losing his mind and just that like out there performance is everything you want out of the Nicolas Cage film. Just sink in and let it go for its wild ride.
Like you take it. You take like a soundbite of any Nicolas Cage films, and it does sound absurd and just totally off kilter. But when you watch it within the context of the films, like you're saying, it kind of works because he, like we were saying, like, he leans into like the absurdity of it and just kind of just goes with it. And
I had such good fun with it. I was like, if anyone's going to remake Wicker Man, let it be this. This is fine. Like, this is not a trope. Like, this is fun. Like, he punches an old woman on a bike. It's brilliant.
Like, the Nick Cage films I don't really care about are probably like The Sorcerer's Apprentice or something like that. But
totally.
But things like that where he just, I can't wait to watch Pig.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch Pig as well.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But other things in there, and actually one of these can be a lead-in to our film today. But there's stuff like Devil Inside, Silent House, The Grudge, The Turning. They're really crap. They're not all Fs, but they're really crap.
They're just pretty generic, aren't they?
Yeah. But one of them, which is honestly probably the worst film I've ever seen, and it's going to struggle to ever
worse than The Conjuring Part 3 or whatever.
Yeah. This is 2008's Disaster Movie by Freeberg and Seltzer. And obviously Freeberg and Seltzer are the kind of like the offshoots of Zucker's Abraham Zuckers that we're dealing with today, like doing those kind of
they tried to take the mantle of
and this Disaster Movie is one of the worst things I've ever watched. It's so fucking terrible. It's hard to even talk about how terrible it is.
Well, it's like they took the concept of like Scary Movie, which is actually Scary Movie is not a bad like. And then there's Not Another Teen Movie, which is actually not too bad. Actually, it's quite a good send up of teen movies. But like, they did Epic Movie, didn't they? And I'm sure they did a Twilight one as well. Vampires Suck. That one's called. But the problem is instead of just taking one genre and kind of this is what we're going to parody, like Naked Gun or something like that, or they take everything and it just. I'm sorry, that does not work. Like, you can't just throw everything at it and think just because it's popular now. Disaster Movie is absolutely a movie that's written based on trailers that are running in 2008. It's nothing to do with the films. Batman's in it. It's all like, it's ridiculous. Like, it takes on 10,000 BC, Hancock, Jumper, Enchanted, Alvin the Chipmunks, Beowulf, The Love Guru, Sex in the City, and more than anything else, it takes on fucking Juno. It hates Juno with a passion. Like, and you just and you just watching it going, what is your guys' problem? Like, seriously, what is your guys' problem? What hurt you? I'm looking at the poster, and I've seen porn parodies with better, production value than this. I absolutely fucking hate it. Have you got Hancock on it, on the logo? Everyone. Speed Racer. Jesus Christ. The fact that it's called Disaster Movie, there's nothing to do with that. That was a renaming right before release. Like, they had a different name before that. Well, maybe, it is a disaster of a film, so maybe it's... It's clear. And it's just then, and honestly, it has more transphobic jokes in its runtime. Kung Fu Panda's on the poster. Yep, he is. Yeah. It's so just ridiculous. It's so fucking hard to watch. So that is the legacy of our filmmakers today.
That's our lead-in.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask you one thing, though, before we got into that. Okay, so a certain trailer came out this week.
Did it?
And I wanted to get your opinion of said trailer. Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh, okay, that. I don't want an opinion on it.
You don't want an opinion?
I didn't like the trailer.
Did you
if
not?
I'm really honest. No, I didn't. And like, I'm going to just reserve judgment for whatever the film is, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't know what film they're making. I don't know what film they think that they're making a sequel to. I guess that's more the question.
Well, yeah, I hear that. Like, it doesn't come across as a comedy.
No, not in the slightest. Like, and I know like the comedy in those Ghostbusters is weird, but it's not this. That's like so fucking. That's not even tongue in cheek. This isn't. This is po-faced taking this material seriously.
I wouldn't say it's totally po-faced, but I think what it's more of a result of. I think this is like Jason Reitman thinking, okay, if I was to do a Ghostbusters film, what would I do? We haven't got Harold Ramis. It's all about Egon not being there. Do you know what I mean? I think that was his hook. This film wouldn't exist if he didn't. And then it's also because his dad directed the other two. So it's kind of, I think that's where it all stems from, is that sentimentality of
it. Yeah, and I think that's the problem with it. Like, I think his like obsession with dealing with his dad's legacy and him as a filmmaker being his dad's son, in playing that through a Ghostbusters film might have a really weird result. Like, and again, I won't, the film might be great, but like, I just feel it might have too much baggage for a fucking Ghostbusters film.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm on two sides of the fence, because one, I think Ghostbusters is a great little comedic horror comedy action gem. That kind of it didn't need a sequel because it did what it needed to do. It's four guys who catch ghosts, and that's the kind of the premise.
Yeah.
Then you've got the second one, which is like more or less more of the same, because they didn't think we could expand upon it or whatever. They just kind of thought, well, let's just do what we did. It worked the first time. Let's just do it again. Yeah. And I think maybe if they did the opposite, where they did the Star Wars approach, where it went a bit bigger, then maybe they could have done that. But I don't know if it can. So it's... Yeah,
I just don't think Ghostbusters is... I mean, I know people love this franchise, but I just don't think Ghostbusters is the right film to take so seriously and to expand so much. Like, I just don't think I don't think it has the foundation.
Like, there honestly is lore in Ghostbusters. Like, there's the prison scene where they're talking about, Ivo Shandor and stuff like that.
Sure.
And but like we were saying before, like, I like that stuff normally as just being in the background. It's there just to kind of give. It's just something to kind of give the story a bit of a setting and a bit of,
Yeah, it's world building rather than franchise creating. Yeah. Do you know, like?
So on that hand, I don't really like, because Ghostbusters 1 is in my top 10 of films of all time. Ghostbusters 2 is not even in the top 500. You know what I mean? It's
sure, yeah.
But it's still a film I still have some nostalgia for.
Oh yeah.
But so I'm a bit trepidatious about this third film, but at the same time, it's Ghostbusters. I'm at two minds, and I'm going to get to see Bill Murray as Peter Venkman. It's weird because you see Bill Murray in films every year.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's going to be Peter Venkman, I don't know. That
still works for you.
It's going to have a weird, and the fact that it's 32 years later, it's going to be a bit weird. But I don't know. I bought into Han Solo in Force Awakens, so I'm sure I can
true.
Buy into this. I don't know.
It's, I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about Kid Ghostbusters, but
I'm kind of fine with that element of it. But it just feels also like meticulously designed to a point that I don't feel like it's comfortable. It feels like it's like, well, it wouldn't exist without Stranger Things. It just feels like that, and it feels like it wouldn't exist without Jason Reitman doing it the way you said, it doesn't feel fun to me. It feels like the trailer felt like a chore.
Like me. I don't know if
I can't describe it any other way.
I don't know if casting Finn Wolfhard was like a stroke of genius or what, because like if you follow the hashtag Ghostbusters on Instagram, all you get are pictures of Finn Wolfhard. Like he's got a massive following. It's
going to make bank.
Yeah, so him alone, it might just kind of set it on fire. But
it's a difficult thing, as you say. 32 years, and if you like 32 years sequel or whatever, like, are people really going to be that excited for Dan Aykroyd turning up?
It's a weird thing to do. It's a weird thing to do a legacy sequel of. But on the only other option is you do a passing of. Well, I guess this is a passing of the torch kind of film, I guess.
I'm guessing it is.
But like, what your other option would have been in the 90s, where you'd have had it passed down to Ben Stiller or whoever was going to be. That was definitely on the cards, I'm sure.
That definitely was on the
cards.
And
then you have the girl Ghostbusters, which obviously didn't really work out as they hoped.
And that was just because it got the bullshit like sexism and crap against it, but that was mainly didn't work because the writing of the comedy was different to the tone of the film that people were coming to see. And
not only that, it wasn't funny though. But
if someone told me they found it funny, I couldn't argue with them. But it was still a different tone to like the actual idea of the comedy in Ghostbusters. It was just this kind of very loose improv stuff, and the scenes going on for like 4 hours.
My favourite was the scene in the original Ghostbusters where they get the car, and I think there's like 3-line exchange between Peter and Dan. He's like, "You can't park that here." There's a 5-minute sequence when they get the car in the new one. And I'm like, what's going on?
And it's the same, like, and in the way that they're like the original Ghostbusters was such like a tightly written script, that they pulled through and pulled over loads before shooting it. I worry that like treating elements of the original Ghostbusters as like sacred cows is going to feel really stupid to me. And it already does feel stupid to me. Like this, like the way that people were even. So I think I read somewhere, or someone said to me that like it feels like someone who's making Ghostbusters film based entirely upon the merchandise they remember from the original Ghostbusters film, and not actually the film. And I get that, like I feel that, and I'm like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, but again, I want it to be good. I want it to be good. I like Ghostbusters. I want this to work. But I just get a weird feeling with it. I just think they're coming at it from a good place, sure. Like in the original film where it's got the song "I Believe It's Magic," and there's like all the purple, pink kind of streams coming out of the Ghostbusters headquarters. Magic. They found all the original animation of that because it's all hand drawn and stuff like that, and they found all the original footage of that. And if you watch the trailer and you see all that, that's the same. It's the same animation. They've like rescanned it all and put it all, digitized it, and I kind of like that touch. That's cool. It's going to have like some, like you got the minor zombie kind of ghost in there, and it's a practical ghost like the cab ghost in the first one. Yeah. And I really like that they're doing real practical stuff in it as well. And the car driving through the hay fields is real. You know what I mean? And it's definitely gonna have a nice. At least from a filmmaking perspective, whether or not the film story works or not. Sure. But at least from that side of things, I do like that they're going back to some old techniques and methods and stuff. Sure. I like that. It is so weird that it's set in a bloody middle America. Well, I think the idea is that it's the Ivo Shandor mine, the guy who kind of built the big tower block in New York or whatever. Yeah. And if you watch the trailers, all Ivo Shandor stuff all around the town. So it's like obviously he was a big part of this town many, many years ago. So I don't know if it's about that the town is kind of evil anyway, or they're like all Gozer worshippers or something. I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about the mini puffs. That seems a bit too calculated. Yeah. And I know they shot it before Baby Yoda was even a thing, but it definitely leans into the baby Groot and the baby thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, we can sell plushies. We can sell plushies, and everyone remembers it. I'm hoping they don't morph together to form a giant.
Stay Puft. I just hope that doesn't happen.
Well, they've already got the devil dogs in it, so they're already bringing back all the classics.
Oh, they're a bit different now. They walk upright now. It's called something else.
They're the devil dogs.
But they're not claymation, though.
No.
But apparently they are puppets as well. So
there was two things I remember, like when the first photo of this first photo of them shooting it, or like that little weird trailer when it was like the car under a dust sheet. And I think that was a viral tweet that went trailer opens, darkness, husky woman's voice, who are you gonna call? and then a slow version of the original theme song plays over the film, and then I was like, and then watching this I was like, yeah, they just read that viral tweet and did it. They just really have just lent into that less aesthetic for some god known reason. And just the fact that I was laughing because the Clifford trailer came out about a week ago.
The big red dog.
Yeah, the big red dog trailer. And big red dog trailer. And the Clifford's set in upstate New York on farms, and now the film it's set in New York City. So it's almost like Ghostbusters and Clifford swapped locations when filming for some reason.
I watched the trailer for that and I was like, is that Jack Whitehall?
Yes, it is Jack
Whitehall. I was like, is Jack Whitehall doing an American accent? What's going on?
I think he's trying to. He's trying to. He's
going
positioning himself to be the next James Corden. Who?
I don't hate Jack Whitehall, but don't say that because it's another person I have to hate.
I don't like him.
I don't have an opinion of him. Let's put it that way.
I don't know why. I don't like him.
But
I think because he's in Jungle Cruise that's coming out soon, isn't he? He's playing Disney's first gay character.
Okay.
Cue that. There's a meme from Avatar in the different press releases Disney released over the years announcing their first gay character that they keep doing every year. This is our new first gay character. So this is their new first gay character. And then it leaked that it's literally in the script he says something along the lines of he's not interested in ladies and he has a live-in friend or something like that. It's really just coded language, and it's nothing it's not any sort of representation.
Isn't Loki technically Disney's first gay character?
Who knows who's Disney's first gay character is?
What did you think of the final of that, by the way?
Oh, I loved it. I really loved it.
Yeah.
It was exactly what I wanted, actually. Just that kind of gripping conversation and stuff, and introducing to a character I'm hoping we'll see more of, actually.
Do you think he'll have a blue face when we see him next?
They've got to do the blue face.
I'll be upset if they don't do the blue face with the big headphone things.
Yeah. Does he? It's a mask, isn't it, Kang? Isn't it a blue mask?
Is it a mask? It might be a mask.
I think so. I feel like I've seen it get torn before in comics. Maybe. I don't know. We've talked for far too long without going into this film. Well,
you were talking about Disney. The film we're talking about today was at the time of its release the highest grossing Disney film, I believe.
Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. I did not know that. I did watch it on Disney Plus, actually, and didn't even clock to me that it was a Disney film.
Oh, I could have watched it on Disney Plus and I didn't have to illegally download it. I did that out.
So, yeah. Today's film is Ruthless People from 1986.
Meet Mr. Stone. He wanted to kill Mrs. Stone.
My only regret, Carol, is that the plan isn't more violent.
Until something wonderful happened.
Mr. Stone, we have kidnapped your wife.
Imagine someone demanding money from me to keep Barbara alive. Idiots.
Now he's doing everything inhumanly possible so she'll never come back.
Don't you consider throwing a body off a cliff in the dead of night violent?
Nah, she'll be unconscious.
He's going to pay. He's going to pay.
Fat chance.
I'm going to drop the price to $10,000.
I'm being marked down?
That woman ain't coming back.
Ruthless People, starring Danny DeVito.
I hate the way she licks stamps. I hate her furniture. And I hate that little sound she makes when she sleeps.
Judge Reinhold.
They said they wouldn't follow me. You can't trust the police.
Helen Slater.
No matter what I do, or as nice as I can be, she just tears into me. She hates me.
Sandy, you're her kidnapper. She's supposed to hate you.
And Bette Midler as Barbara Stone.
It's not her.
You miserable, scum-sucking pig! Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. They made me say that.
Along with the most ruthless cast of characters ever assembled.
Ah! You miserable, low-life freak!
Spineless wimp.
Complete moron.
You inhuman slime!
Perhaps we should shoot her.
My husband worships the ground I walk on. When he hears about this, he will explode!
Ruthless People.
I dare you to kill her. Now that ought to do it.
So this film, I don't know, starring Danny DeVito and Bette Midler, really. They are
Judge Reinhold.
I think the billing order was Danny DeVito, Judge Reinhold, Helen Slater, and Bette Midler and then I think it went into the 3 card and Bill Pullman was on it. I think that was the billing order. I took notice of the billing order for some reason when I was watching it. But what's this film about? This is Danny DeVito is a millionaire. I don't know, he's rich. He hates his wife, and some people who are unconnected to them, broadly, kidnap his wife and ask for ransom.
Well, they're connected in the fact that... Sorry, you're just doing a rough summation of the plot, aren't you? Sorry.
Yes, that's all I was doing.
Hang on, I've just unplugged my headphones.
This is going well. I blame the vaccine.
Sorry, I'm back.
But I think really before going into the plot, the reason this kind of ended up on our little list, really.
Yeah, because what did this replace?
This replaced some indie that I can't remember its name.
Oh, it was the one with
River's
Keanu Reeves,
Edge,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Because I just kind of wanted to cover like a studio comedy film, really. Like studio comedies in the 80s were big things, you know, and they set alight loads of careers, really.
We just talked about one.
I was about to say, we literally did just talk about a big studio comedy, yeah. So, I figured it'd be quite nice to kind of do a big studio comedy that we hadn't seen before. And this was huge back in the day. This was a big film. As you said, it was the biggest... Did you say biggest Disney film at the time?
I'm pretty sure. Let me just check reception. The film was a financial success, grossing $71.6 million compared to the relatively frugal budget of the film's production. It was Disney's highest-grossing film, excluding reissues.
And it got a CinemaScore hit of A. So
yeah.
Talk all about the CinemaScores. A-, sorry. But and the reason this was so big is because there were 3 people in kind of 80s comedies making that I think we don't talk about anymore, really, because they died a death, frankly. But but Zucker's Abrahams and Zucker, who were the directing team of this, they had made the biggest comedy films of all time up until this point, and this was their last film together as well. Before they split off to their own careers, which we'll get to because I think their own careers are fascinating. But if you don't know who Zucker's Abraham Zucker are, who is like ZAZ, to shorthand, they made Airplane in 1980, and as one of the films that changed the landscape of what comedy was and what comedy still is doing, I think, in film, it was Airplane. It was such a giant film that impacted, I think, just everything. I think it impacted everything in Hollywood, frankly. It impacted action films, it impacted comedies. It didn't invent the spoof, but it made it big business, I think, compared to Mel Brooks films. It's crazy, I think, really.
And the best thing about Airplane is it's beat for beat, like a remake, isn't it, of a film?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Was it Airport? No, what's it called?
It was a remake of a film called 0 Hour, which is a stupid action kind of sequel to the Airplane or Airport series, I think they were called.
Right.
There were like a series of like airport disaster films, and 0 Hour was one of them. And it was
Wasn't
about
Lloyd
like
Bridges in it as well?
Yeah, they bought the rights to 0 Hour and remade it, frankly, as Airplane, and casted the actors as much as they could as well. But and they wanted to cast like dramatic actors, so they cast like Peter Graves, Robert Stack, Lloyd Bridges, and Leslie Nielsen to just deliver this script more than anything else. And it was giant. I mean, this set their careers forever. Basically, Airplane did. It's hard to say. It's hard to kind of try and sum it up, I think.
Before this, did they direct the Kentucky Fried Movie as well, or did they just write that?
Yeah, they actually wrote it. John Landis directed it.
Oh, was it John Landis? Yeah.
Yeah, but that actually, like, Abrams Zuckers, they're all from, like, Wisconsin. They were all from, like, the kind of... They had a sketch show up in Wisconsin, in the university up there, which was the Kentucky Fried Theatre. And that was full of, like, sketches and full of, like pop culture takes, really, I guess we'd call it nowadays. They always said that
kind of like the Bill Murray troops and all that. What they call like the Second City,
and that Second City and stuff like that kind of stuff. Radio City, totally. And like they basically were doing this in the 60s, and they kind of just said they didn't care about political humor. They said all the other troops were doing like political humor. They were doing stuff because of like Vietnam and like Nixon leading into the 70s and stuff like that. And they just didn't care about that stuff. They didn't know enough about it to kind of spoof it. So they just used to like to spoof the films they watched and the ridiculous TV they watched. So their theatre show, their sketch show, was just full of like stuff about pop culture, like TV shows, adverts, movies and things. And that was really big, really, really big sketch show that ended up, they met Harold Ramis. Sorry, not Harold Ramis. Yeah. Who did I say directed it? John Landis. They met John Landis down in California, who hadn't done anything at that point, and just said, like, look, we got this script that we put together. Do you want to direct it? Because we don't know what we're doing. And the Kentucky Fried Movie was huge. It was a really, really big, influential film. They only made it because they couldn't get their Airplane script kind of produced. But the Kentucky Fried Movie, like, comes out in 1977. It's a sketch movie. It's full of sketches all the way through. I think it's based on like the idea is you're kind of watching like a TV channel, and it's all the ridiculous shows that are in the TV channel. Yeah, and it basically Lorne Michaels watched this and said we should have a TV show that's like this, and invented SNL.
Oh, so it predated SNL.
Yeah, it's like it's incredibly influential in what became kind of like comedy really throughout the 80s. From Kentucky Fried Movie, that's when they get Airplane, one of the biggest comedy movies ever been made. I think it made some near 200 million in box office, and it was made for like 3 or something, like just absolutely huge. The thing with Airplane, it was just jokes an absolute second. Like every single line's a joke, every delivery of it is a joke, every kind of scene of it is a rip take. It's just spoof after spoof after spoof after spoof, and you can't, and it's packed full of those kind of jokes. I mean, you still like Airplane, I'm sure. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I watched it. Like, if I'm honest, there's only a handful of jokes I remember. I remember like the spare pilot or whatever that inflates.
Yeah,
the young girl who wants a black coffee. I remember that joke.
I always remember Lloyd Bridges. I remember like it's like the bad day to quit smoking and a bad day to stop sniffing glue. I always remember those bits of it.
Yeah, and Don't Call Me Shirley, stuff like that.
Don't Call Me Shirley, of course, yeah. But as you say, they bought 0 Hour to plot. They actually remade it, and that just set them on their kind of course, really. So after Airplane, they make Top Secret.
Val Kilmer.
Vehicle. I should say first they actually make I should say actually they do Police Squad first as a TV show. So Police Squad's Leslie Nielsen, and that goes nowhere. Like no one watches Police
Squad's really good though.
I've heard it's really good. It's 6 episodes and that's it. Like
it's a well-made show.
That's their foray into TV. That didn't work out very well. Did
they have anything to do with the sequel of Airplane or not?
No, they didn't. No, they'd moved on by that point. So yeah, and then they do Top Secret in 1984, and Top Secret, as you say, it's Val Kilmer's his first role, I think it is.
Yeah, and Michael Gough's in it as well.
Who is he?
Yeah. And
I haven't
Omar Sharif.
seen Peter Cushing's in it as well.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Top Secret since I was a kid. I think.
Yeah, same.
So I don't remember it at all. I remember some Elvis thing or something in it.
Yeah.
It's like a spoof of spy films, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a spoof of like the films that Elvis did.
Oh, okay.
And things like and a spy film as well. So like musical, like the musical films that Elvis did.
Yeah.
So I think it's got some musical elements in it as well.
But I know it worked as well. That was another success, like it started, as you say, Val Kilmer's career. I think it was a huge film again. And so off the back of that, this is their next film, Ruthless People. And we'll get to Ruthless People in a second, because Ruthless People is actually kind of weird, is the fact that it's not a spoof. It's not written by them. It's not a joke a second type of film. It's actually like just a comedic film. So it's actually a bit kind of against the grain for them. But it was much more of a hit than Top Secret was. Like, as you say, It was a huge film. And at that point, basically, Zuckers, they split up. They go their separate ways. I was trying to find out like why they split up. It's really not easy to find. And it seems to be basically that they wanted to make more money. Because like, if you're like 3 co-directors on a film, they're not going to pay you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to pay you just how much they would pay one director. So they basically just split up to make more money, as far as I can tell. It seems like they stayed friends. It wasn't like a big anything like that. But they just wanted to make more money, which, whatever. Then it gets weird. I think their individual careers are just so bizarre. Because you get like, they do like Jim Abrahams first. So he does Big Business, which is a spoof of Bette Midler, which no one watches. He did Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael, which I've never seen that film, like with Winona Ryder and Jeff Daniels. Never, no idea what that is. But then he comes back and does Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2. For my money, like, I watched those 1,000 times growing up. Like I
definitely watched those a lot of yours.
Yeah, those VHSs were well worn, I think. Yeah. Like, continuously. And
2 crabs. They work in pairs.
Yeah, they work in pairs.
And I think it was my introduction to Ryan Stiles, the second one as well.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, I forgot he was in that. And those, back to kind of big spoofs, again, if we talk about them inventing or kind of popularising the spoof films, I think those 2 were massive. And really, I don't think he did. That was the last time he did anything noteworthy. His last film was Mafia, which was like a spoof of like crime films. But I don't know anyone. I've never seen it. Don't know anyone to talk to about it. Like
the picture, the poster is of like like The Godfather is of the marionette puppet kind of controlling device, but it's like a spoon and a fork with spaghetti on it. So that's the level of.
Oh, it's got Jay Moore as the lead. Wow. Jay Moore leading vehicle.
God.
Then you got like David Zucker. David Zucker's like, he's the one who straight away does Naked Gun, which is a stone cold classic as far as I'm concerned. Like, and then he follows up with Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, which I think is also awesome. Like, I just love Leslie Nielsen. I think Leslie Nielsen's so good in those roles and so funny. He does a film called For Goodness Sake that I've never heard of. And then he comes back and he does Basketball in 1998.
Well, I think he wrote that, didn't he? I don't think did he direct that?
Yeah, he directed it. He wrote and directed it.
Oh, yeah, he did. So I was looking at the wrong film.
I never occurred to me Basketball was anything but Trey Parker and Matt Stone, frankly.
I was looking at High School High because he wrote that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and that's the one with John Lovitz, and it's basically like a spoof of like... those kind of like 90s kind of hard as nail schools, like, what's the one with
like
the
Dangerous
Coolio
Minds?
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. And then you've got he also wrote Naked Gun 33 1/3.
He did, yeah. We didn't direct it. Yeah,
it's not very good.
No, that one isn't very good. And then, like, he does something called The Boss's Daughter, and then that doesn't go anywhere. So he actually takes over the Scary Movie franchise. He does Scary Movie 3 and 4, which is pretty sad, frankly, because those films are bad. And his last film, like basically after 9/11, I don't know why I have to talk about 9/11, but after 9/11, David Zucker, like, loses his mind and goes Republican.
Okay.
So he makes a spoof about liberals in 2008 called An American Carol. It was actually released as Big Fat Important Movie. I don't know what this idea with spoof movies were. They had to be called like something movie in the 2008.
Is that meant to be Michael Moore in the poster?
Yeah, it's a spoof of like Michael Moore films. And he's visited by 3 like ghosts of the American past or whatever. Like,
oh dear.
I think it's like George S. Patton, who's played by Kelsey Grammer.
Of course he's going to be in it, isn't he?
Of course he's going to be in it, yeah, totally. It's Abraham Lincoln, I think, visits him. I don't know who played it.
Just a question. Does Kelsey Grammer in real life, does that ruin Frasier for you?
No.
You can... What's the thing? You can look past the...
I could separate that.
Separate the art from the artist.
Well, it's easy because he's an idiot. Like, in real life, he's just an idiot. He's not like he's like a problem. He's just an idiot.
That's going to be weird when that comes back.
Yeah, I don't know why they're even bothering with that at all.
Anyway.
Get to the cast of this. So George Washington then visits him, played by John Voight. And it's all like the Republican of Hollywood. James Woods is in it.
Of course he is.
And Leslie Nielsen's in it as well, playing Osama bin Nielsen, apparently. And Dennis Hopper's in it. Kevin Sorbo's in it, that notable Kevin Sorbo Christian filmed man.
Have you ever seen the tweets that Lucy Lawless has sent to him in the past?
Yes.
They're quite amusing.
Lawless. Yeah. I think David Alan Greer's in it as well. I don't honestly. It's played by Michael Moore's played by Kevin Farley, Chris Farley's brother as well.
$20 million budget, $7 million box office.
$7 million box office. It's meant to be absolute trash. And it's one of those, like, Republicans, right-wingers can't do comedy kind of things.
Paris Hilton cameos in it. So,
yeah,
it's of quality.
It's of that time period, isn't it? But that was his last film. Surprisingly, he's never made anything since, which I don't think is much.
Sadly, Zachary Levi's in it, or Levy, but I'll let him off.
Then to the other Zucker, Jerry Zucker. So he does. This is the biggest twist.
Weird one. I never knew this.
So after Ruthless People, his next film is Ghost, which is like insane. Like,
$500 million box office. That's crazy.
It was like bloody Avengers Endgame. It's so big. Like, proper dramatic role. It has got comedy in it, but like, a dramatic film. That is the biggest film that any of the Triple ever made, really. He follows that up years later. It's like 5 years later he does First Night with like Richard Gere and like Sean Connery. The medieval fantasy film. Like, I barely remember First Night, but I remember it existing.
Is that the one they got in trouble with? No, I'm getting confused with the Heath Ledger one. They got in trouble for creating a fake critic, and people got to get their money back.
Did they really do that? They just invented someone who went, "This film's wonderful." Is
Sean Connery in the First Night?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Sean Connery plays King Arthur, and Richard Gere plays Lancelot, and it's about Lancelot and Lady Guinevere romance, and it has like it's like completely po-faced. It's like no magic or anything like that, and I don't know. I just did an inflation calculator on the Ghost budget box office. It's double that, so it's over $1 billion in today's money. That is massive. It's impossible to quantify how big Ghost was. Like, it really is impossible to quantify how huge that film was.
I did not know it was that big. That's crazy.
And not even just like big in money, in terms of cultural footprint again. Like, of just that scene with the pottery.
That's still being spoofed to this day.
To this day, yeah, with the Unchained Melody as well and everything like that. It's just insanity how big that film was. And so he follows up First Night with Rat Race, which I didn't know either.
But he hasn't done anything since then.
Hasn't done nothing since Rat Race, yeah. And I will not go to bat for Rat Race, but in 2001 I loved that film. So
I have never seen it.
Ollie,
it's one of those ones I've seen bits of on TV, but I've never seen it all the way through.
I can't imagine it holds up in the fucking slightest. Like I can't, like I just can't. But I just think that's such a weird career. I think that these 4 like spoof films, these 4 huge, like inventing the 80s spoof film, then doing Ghost, and then like finishing a Rat Race is just so bizarre. And I'm guessing they're never making films again. None of them have directed anything since The American Carol was the last one. All 3 of them did. But they're weird, like cultural footprints of American filmmaking, especially in the 80s. Like, that's big box office. That's big cultural memory. That's big, like, shifting how we do comedy, really. It just felt right to kind of talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, Ruthless People, then.
Ruthless People, yeah. As I say, Ruthless People is a bit of a standout of all that because it isn't actually a spoof film. It's literally just an adaptation of... what was it an adaptation of again? Let me look that up. You have to cut this out.
Well, I heard it's slightly based on a true story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hang on, let me find it.
So it's a weird, like, adaptation of a short story from... when was it? When was it written? I can't even find that out. It's like something like 1910 or something, like, which is called The Ransom of Red Chief, a short story written by O. Henry. It's about like 2 men who kidnap and demand a ransom for like someone's son. But the men are driven like insane because the boy is really kind of spoiled and hyperactive, and they actually end up paying the boy's father to take the kid back, or something like one of those short comedy stories. So it's basically just an adaptation of that more than anything else, by the American writer O. Henry, and it was adapted by Dale Lorna, who he would end up having a pretty damn successful career in comedy writing as well, because he went on to do Blind Date in 1987, then doing the Frank Oz film Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and following that up as well with My Cousin Vinny, which My Cousin Vinny is one of the most comedy films of all time that holds up, I think. Like, My Cousin Vinny
it is good.
It's such a solid script as well. Like, so it kind of got all the kind of like elements to this to make something really, really crazily successful, including cinematographer Jan de Bont.
I know, Speed and Twister. Jan de Bont. It's a
weird little element that I'd never really even come across this film before or even heard of it at all, really.
This is what I was looking for. So, according to Wikipedia, although it is perceived that Ruthless People was influenced by O. Henry's story, The Ransom of the Red Chief, writer Dale Lorna claims that it was inspired by the kidnapping of Patricia Hearst, and the similarities between the film and the earlier story were just a coincidence.
Huh,
so Patty Hearst she's a American author and actress who was kidnapped for 19 months in 1974, but she was also arrested for aiding and abetting her kidnappers. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of it was, but apparently she was pardoned by Bill Clinton.
What? I know that name. I know that name for some reason, but I couldn't pull anything from the story. That's weird. But I also love this film because it's the 80s and Danny DeVito is the lead.
It's the most 80s film. Like, so it starts off with an animated, like a very gaudy, psychedelic kind of animated intro.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this intro.
And I was watching this and I was like, I know, this looks very familiar.
Okay, yeah.
And then Mannequin popped into my head. So I went on to IMDb, and it's the same animator. And her name's Sally Cruikshank or Cruikshank.
Yeah. And
so she also did the intro sequences to Loverboy as well.
Yeah.
Which has got Patrick Dempsey. She also did the intro sequence an animation sequence in Top Secret. And she also did a short film called it's called Face Like a Frog,
Okay.
And it's like just a very bizarre kind of trippy animated film. But the soundtrack is by Oingo Boingo, or I think they're credited as the Mystic Knights, because they used to be called the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo. And I was reading into it, and apparently she paid Oingo Boingo to do the soundtrack for her. So technically she owns it, but she can't, or she's uploaded it to to YouTube, but she keeps getting flagged for copyright, even though she owns the copyright.
No way.
And apparently Geffen, the record label, is saying they own it, even though she paid for it.
Sure.
But she seems like a very cool lady in the animation industry, like really pushing like women's animation forward. Yeah. And I think she did like segments in like Sesame Street. So when we were kids, we may have seen some of her like little weird little psychedelic animations, like telling you how to count up to 10 or whatever.
It did. You were saying that it did kind of remind me of that kind of like colourful, hard line kind of animation you see in Sesame Street. I was trying to put my finger on it when I was watching it, what it actually reminded me of, and I couldn't really think of anything. It kind of a little bit was like Rocko's Modern Life in a weird way, like the kind of colours and the way everything kind of moves a little bit.
Yeah.
It's that proper like MTV era like animation. That
you can definitely see an ident, an MTV ident like that, or something like that. You know, she also she worked on the Twilight Zone movie as well, segment 3, which I think may have been the segment with the kid. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the kid who kind of like wishes or imagines things. I can't remember now, but it's the one that's directed by the Burbs. Joe Dante. Yeah, Joe Dante. Yeah, so it's all about kind of those characters and those costumes and things. But I miss like full-on animated intro sequences. Like
me too. Yeah, me too.
Like there was loads of like Savage Steve Johnson films that had them, and he's the guy who created Eek the Cat, and like his films like Better Off Dead and One Hot Summer or One Long Summer or something with John Cusack, and they all had like animated intros and stuff. And like Honey I Shrunk the Kids had one as well.
Yes. Yeah. And this is all about basically like the kind of scenes, the scenery in this film is trying to kind of kill everything else in the scenery.
Yeah.
So it's like bits of like plants are turning into poison and chairs are turning into like chainsaws and stuff like that and attacking all the other things in the scenes. I really liked this intro, this animated intro.
With a Mick Jagger track back in this.
Yes. When this started and it got with like opened up with a Mick Jagger track called Ruthless People written for the film, I was like, yep, we're doing studio comedy. We said we'd do a studio comedy, and this is absolutely a studio comedy. This is what they do. I was going to say, like one of the other things that really drew me to watching this film was Danny DeVito as the lead, and I love Danny DeVito as a movie star.
Danny DeVito is like the perfect person for a black comedy, a lead. Do you know what I mean? So like he had Throw Mama from the Train.
That film's so good.
The War of the Roses.
Yeah, totally.
You know, Death to Smoochie, and what's the show he's in now? Like Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always Sunny, yeah.
Which is pretty much like about a bunch of narcissistic, horrible people.
Yeah.
You know, so he obviously definitely loves to lean into that kind of.
Yeah, and I don't know. A lot of the stuff before this that he was doing, obviously, he was the kind of foil in like Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile, which I guess
is he meant to be Sala in that? That's what I always thought.
Kind of, yeah. But he's at least like the kind of comedic foil, isn't he? Like of the kind of hero. So he's a little villainous, but not the proper villain. And I think that must be what he did to see them to put him in this, because it's not. This must be one of the first times he's the lead of a film, because it's like a bit of a gamble to put Danny DeVito as the lead of your film. He's not a leading man.
If you look at the films that were coming out around that time, their previous film had, as we were saying, Batman, what's his name, Val Kilmer in it, and
Val Kilmer,
he was a very attractive man in his heyday, wasn't he? So
I'm right. Okay, this year is literally like the first time he gets top billing in a film, and this and Wise Guys, which he's got Joe Piscopo and him as the two head leads, which is like another black mafia comedy thing. So it literally is like he just managed to build up that kind of I don't know, that kind of like husbah, that kind of like energy or whatever at this time, to take over the lead of a film, and it fucking works. And as you say, like from this, he never stops. That's what Tin Men, Throw Mama, Twins, War of the Roses, Batman Returns, Hoffa, like Look Who's Talking, Renaissance Man, Junior, whatever. Go on and on and on and on. That's his like career after this, really.
There's some definite Batman Returns Penguin-isms in his performance in this, I think, sometimes. He's going around doing that.
I loved him. I could watch Danny DeVito do roles like this forever.
I love the way Danny DeVito just walks into places, because he's kind of like a bit top-heavy, so he just bowls forward like...
And in Always Sunny, he
just
leans into that
around
so
with the chloroform,
much.
Just kind of, unabashedly. I'm just going to fucking kill her now, or knock her out now.
Just unabashedly angry, and it's like when he's angry, like Danny DeVito, all parts of him are angry. Like all parts of him are annoyed. Like his legs, his arms, his neck, his face, his torso. Like and he's ready to kill someone. Like, and I was like, I'm in good hands when this opened up, and it's got the scene with him, and the. I can't remember her name, but he's kind of like mistress, who comes like bigger into the film. Carol, Anita Morris. That's
Anita Morris, yeah. And
he's just like, he married his wife because she was very, very rich, and her wealthy father was very, very, very sick. And then he just keeps going. He explains how the father got over his sickness and just kept on getting older and sicker, and he just keeps going older and sicker, older and sicker, older and sicker, and he wouldn't die. And and I was just like, yep, okay, I'm fine with this Danny. I'm fine with him leading this. He can be the lead of this and be evil, and it's funny. Like, this is the perfect casting.
I mean, we talk about like films with unlikable leads and stuff. Like, he's as unlikable as it gets, but he's so good at it. He's so wonderful at it.
Yeah.
And
it quickly kind of moves into that, doesn't it? Like, he gets home.
And hang on. You can't go past his car. He drives this gigantic red thing that's like, we all know Danny DeVito's a very small man. This car is ginormous.
Yes, it is giant. It's absolutely giant.
And then his house is the most 80s house you've ever seen.
Oh my God, yes. Like, the furniture was all angles and colours, and it was all asymmetrical. Everything in the house was asymmetrical. Neons and patterns and kind of black and white, kind of checkered, and just cyan blues. And then his office is just like wood panelling and leather.
Yes, it's almost like, in Beetlejuice, where like Catherine O'Hara wants to decorate a house like it's like an art installation, but her husband's like, I just want this room to be left as is. This is my room. Just
leave this one room, please. Yeah, totally. And I guess it's meant to be garish. They're meant to be like garish people, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Meant to be kind of like horrible, kind of garish people. I'm guessing this wasn't like in the 80s. If you went to go see it, you wouldn't think, yes, that's a normal living room.
I mean, let's just say no one in this film gives a subtle performance. Probably maybe Helen Slater is the most subtle performer in the film.
Probably. Yeah, that's probably fair. No one else is in the slightest.
Everyone's just larger than life, just massive performance. I'm like, we'll get to Bette Midler later on.
Bette Midler. So yeah, he gets home and he's ready to kill his wife. This is one of the things about this film, and we'll juggle with it as going through it. This is a time when it's really good for us just to go through it, because this film is confusing as hell. Like, it has like, instead of being spoof, it's just farce, and it's proper like American farce rather than French farce. And it's like all just this kind of every single plot element twisting and winding around each other that no one is really sure what anyone else is doing. Everyone in the film has their own motivation, and it's all about money. Everyone is motivated about money in this, but they all come from
even
the
good people,
angles.
The ones you're meant to root for, are still
about me.
Yeah,
and their reward is a financial reward. It's the kind of thing that Crispin Glover hated about Back to the Future.
Yeah,
but the kind of weaving and of all those narratives, and everyone else starts getting accused of each other's crimes during this. So, like, if you're not paying attention, you can get a bit lost about exactly what's happening at what point and who the police think have done what and so on and so forth. Like, which is great to watch, I think. Really hard to talk about. So we'll see going forward.
So, well, let's just go through it. So, Danny DeVito is going to kill his wife, Bette Midler.
Yes, because he wants her money.
Yeah, but then Carol, who is his mistress, knows this is going to happen. Yes. And there's her. She's got a younger fella played by Bill Pullman, who's kind of like a bit of a dipsy kind of. He's dressed like he's like in Miami Vice or something. So
the police and later in the film refer to him as the dumbest man that ever lived.
Yeah, so she gets him to film the murder taking place because he's told her where it's going to take place.
Yes.
But unbeknownst to Danny DeVito, his wife, Bette Midler, is kidnapped by Judge Reinhold and Helen Slater. Yeah. And Helen Slater
Supergirl.
is...
Supergirl.
Supergirl, yeah. She is a fashion designer or whatever and created this spandex skirt, which then
miniskirt,
which Danny DeVito stole.
Yes.
And then made millions off that.
From. Yeah. Because he is the spandex miniskirt king, as he later says in the film.
But because his wife is already kidnapped, another car pulls up where the murder's supposed to take place, and it's the police chief with I'm guessing a prostitute, a lady of the night.
I think it was just a married woman, I think.
Oh, fair enough. Anyway, a sex worker, sorry. I probably should say that. I don't know what the correct term is. Anyway.
Sex worker.
So Bill Pullman's watching this, and because he's so dumb... Oh, yeah, because the police chief goes, I want it to be really loud and vocal because I'll get off on that.
Yeah.
So as he's filming this, he's thinking she's getting murdered. But it's just like, very loud sex.
This is the dumbest part of the whole plot. And the fact that Carol just takes Bill Pullman's word for it and won't watch the video because he says it's so horrific and her screams will ring through me forever.
So Judge Reinhold, as the kidnapper, phones Danny DeVito and says, $500,000 ransom for your wife. Please don't call the police or the TV or whatever, whatever like that, or we'll kill her. Danny DeVito obviously wanted his wife murdered, so he rings the police.
That scene is absolute wonderful, Danny DeVito.
Like, when he makes himself cry.
No. When I was on the phone with Judge Reinhold, so like he starts with it going like, "Where is my wife? Where is she? What have you done?" And as he starts explaining about like I kidnapped her, and you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah.
And the camera's getting closer and closer, and Danny DeVito just starts getting happier and happier in everything that Judge Reinhold says, and he just starts going, I understand. And his face just goes happy. And then it cuts to just like the media and police circus around like the entire house. Like all the police, all the media are there. And Danny DeVito's just hiding in his office, drinking champagne or something. Like just being happy as Larry. There's
a great scene later on where like Danny DeVito, I think he's talking to one of the police officers, or I think he's like Doyle or whatever in The Mask. But anyway, he's like saying, I hate weak salesmen, the ones who kind of always lower their price or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's chatting to Judge Reinhold and the price is going down and down and down. But anyway, so where are we at? So yeah, Danny DeVito calls all the media and the police. Bill Pullman brings the tape back to Carol because she wants to blackmail Danny DeVito. Saying, I know you've murdered your wife, blah, blah, blah. She puts the tape in, but then decides, I can't watch it, it's too graphic. Or it's too
graphic, yeah.
So she sends it to the police. No, she sends it to Danny DeVito.
He sends it to Danny DeVito first.
And it says, I've bought you something special or something? Something special for you.
I thought you would like to see this. Yeah. And then it says, like, a special friend or something.
Did we know that this was the police chief already, or was it not until later when you read it?
It's not until later on it's revealed it's the police chief, yeah.
And then, so, is he just getting off on it at first? Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just
getting because it makes me laugh so much. He calls up Carol and says, like, thank you for the tape, this is wonderful. And he's describing that he wants to do it to her.
Yeah, but
like, he goes, this is such a great idea, we'll go there and I'll do it to you and you'll scream louder than anything else or something. But she's taking it as a death threat because she thinks it's a murder scene on the film. And he's trying to, like, entice her into a tryst. or something.
So meanwhile, Bette Midler is tied up in this house.
Yeah, cut to Bette Midler in like
and so
in a sack.
So she's got a very weird costume on with like weird spider legs on or something. I don't know. It's very
it's very weird. I love the scene when they introduce her in like she's in that sack and Judge Reinhold tries to put her in like the kind of dungeon and she's just got her arms out through the sack and is beating the shit out of him. Like that was really cracking me up.
Like if you think Bette Midler's big in like Hocus Pocus or whatever, I think she's even bigger in this. Like
I think she is.
So throughout the whole of this film, she's from her chain to her bed, she's watching like exercise videos. And she's obviously
weird.
She's got an issue with her weight.
This whole element of it is so weird.
So throughout the whole film, she's just working.
She's just working out, yeah. And like, they keep cutting to like at the beginning before she like loses the weight. They keep cutting to like her pot belly.
Yeah, it's like padding or something.
Like, yeah. I'm like, it's Bette Midler. I know she's not fat. Like,
so then, okay, sorry.
And just her slow like I don't know what they're doing, commenting on like 80s kind of like fitness or whatever have you, like, but the slow just her obsession with fitness is so weird, and it's such a weird element to this that they keep just cutting to her with the chain on her leg chained to the bed. She keeps just doing like push-ups and running on the spot and everything. It's as you say, it's a loud performance from Bette Midler. Okay,
so now if I get this right now, so Carol then sends the sex tape to the police chief because she thinks it's Danny DeVito murdering still on the tape.
Yes. So she sends it to kind of like to get him arrested.
Yeah, so he watches it, obviously knows it's him and thinks she's blackmailing him. And she's like, well, what do you want then from me? And she's, I want you to arrest Sam, Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
So he arrests Danny DeVito. But Danny DeVito then wants to pay to get his wife back to prove that he hadn't murdered her.
Yeah, because basically, she bribes the police chief to get to arrest Danny DeVito. The police chief frames him whilst they're like arresting him, but also they find legitimate evidence of that he could have murdered her. Like he finds like the bottle of chloroform. He finds out he was having an affair. So then Danny DeVito has to try and prove that his wife isn't dead yet to get off from the murder charge. So he's now then committed to try and get her back from Judge Reinhold.
So, and then, so Judge Reinhold owns like a speaker or like
these were weird scenes.
Like a TV kind of hi-fi kind of shop, like a hi-fi shop, Sounds or something.
Yeah,
and like he's shown to be quite a nice guy. Like people who.
He's not ruthless enough.
Yeah, they think they want like the kind of like the super duper speaker, but he like tells them, it's not really that good. This cheap one is actually better and stuff like that. And then when he tries to kind of con someone into buying the really extravagant speaker, he sees that his wife's pregnant and he's like, no, let me show you like a decent one.
This is actually the good speaker. Yeah.
But the police actually do some real investigation where they get the tyre treads and they match up the tyre treads and they link it to him and they go to visit him. But then this is when they find out they've got the evidence on Danny DeVito.
Yeah, so they ignore him.
Yeah.
But Judge Reinhold doesn't know that they've counted him out either. Yeah. So he thinks the police are still after him.
So is it this point he goes home then?
Yeah, so he goes home. What has happened in the middle is that Carol and
Sandy.
Bette Midler.
Yeah. I don't know. Helen slays Sandy, yeah.
Yeah, they've become friends because she told Bette Midler how good she looks, that she's lost at like 20 pounds, and she now decides that kidnapping is good for her health because she tried all the fad diets. She went
to urine
like
diet,
camps.
A urine injection.
Yeah. I was injecting urine and none of it's ever worked for her, but kidnapping looks good on her. So she's now like friends with them, and instead like Supergirl just lets Bette Midler out.
Hang on. Bette Midler goes, have you got a nice black dress that I can wear?
Oh, yes.
And
yes,
so she ends up wearing... They both dress up. Like, Sandy does her hair. Like,
yeah. Because
like
Helen Slater,
80s.
Sandy, is like a designer, so they try on all her dresses, and they love... Like, they both look great, and they're doing each other's hair, and they become friends, basically. And then Sandy admits to Bette Midler, that, like, originally they asked for 500,000, and Bette Midler's like, well, that wouldn't be a problem, he'll just pay that. And she's like, no, he wouldn't pay that.
He wouldn't. So
then he goes 50.
Then
we go to 50, and he wouldn't pay that. And then he goes, and then we cut it down to 10. And then Bette Midler gets really angry. Like, she has that great line that I'm being marked down. I've been kidnapped by Kmart.
Kmart, yeah.
And then she just lets her go basically at that point. Then Judge Reinhold comes home.
Yeah.
Gets mad at Sandy for letting her go. Whilst away, Bette Midler finds out that Danny DeVito's having an affair. So she comes back to the kidnappers to hatch a plan to make Danny DeVito
hang on, you're
bankrupt.
missing the whole thing. Judge Reinhold comes home. The police knocks on the door holding a picture of the bedroom killer, and have you seen this man?
Because there's this whole other plot of this serial killer that's gone throughout the film. When Bette Midler comes back in, the bedroom killer's there
in the house.
Yeah,
they accidentally kill the bedroom killer. He falls down the stairs into the cellar. Oh, we didn't mention the scene where she tries to escape the first time and she pulls out the gun, and there's like, it's one of the lighter guns and stuff like that.
That is a great scene.
It's a great
she's
sequence,
beating the absolute crap out of Judge Reinhold,
It's
and like they're just terrified of her, which I just like as well. Like, she's like a loose cannon, and they can't control her whatsoever.
Her hair looks feral, and she's like,
her hair's so tall and it's all out everywhere. Like, and she's just angry and like a force of nature. It was great. So yeah, the bedroom killer comes in. They kill the bedroom killer, and then they hatch a plot to make Danny DeVito bankrupt, and they like Bette Midler reveals that he has around $2 million in assets, in like liquid assets. Mm-hmm. But they also like they know about his rings and his jewels and stuff like that as well. So
they
now
fabricate a sequence where they've got a burger. And they're like
soy burger for some reason.
Yeah, it's no tofu burger, isn't it?
Tofu burger, is it? Yeah.
And so they're cooking it, and then they're pretending they're like putting cigarette butts out on her or something, and then she's
screaming, "Okay, he's got rings as well. Like, he's got the jewels in the shed." And Danny DeVito's like, "Shut up! Like, stop! Like leaking!" Like, and then Danny DeVito isn't, because he's now like, he needs to get his wife back and her not to be dead. Is like desperate for it, so he's willing to pay all this money to get her back. Yeah, that's where we are. So then because he's been the whole film, he's been ignoring all the kind of ransom drops. So whenever Judge Reinhold says we'll meet on Monday, Danny DeVito hasn't turned up, and instead told the police that he said meet on like Wednesday. So he's gone somewhere else, and when the kidnappers haven't turned up, that's when the police start kind of suspecting that Danny DeVito did it himself, and she's already dead, and he's pretending she got kidnapped. So it's all leading to more suspicion about that. So we get back, and you've got this whole sequence playing out now where Danny DeVito is waiting at the drop point, and he's saying that the police have abandoned him because they don't even believe him anymore. So he's saying he's on his own. Judge Reinhold turns up to take the briefcase full of money, and at that point 20,000 cops like swarm the kind of area and all pointing guns at him.
Oh, prior to this though, Carol and Earl, Bill Pullman and Anita Morris, they go to Judge Reinhold's shop because they need a cassette tape player because they want to see what's on the tape.
Oh yeah.
And when they play it plays on every single TV screen, and it's the police chief having sex with that woman.
Yeah, so that's now leaked, and the police chief does a runner or something.
Well, you see him in the background of the bank scene when Danny DeVito's getting all his assets together.
Oh yeah,
you see him getting all his passports and everything together
to leave town. Then like Judge Reinhold then convinces the police to kind of let him leave, otherwise he's still threatening the life of Bette Midler. And you get a great bit when Dane DeVito starts beating him up to take the briefcase away, because he's like, you're not allowed to take my money away anywhere. And the police then call Dane DeVito and is like, you're gonna have to let him leave, otherwise you're aiding and abetting, like, kidnapping or something. And then once the police leave, then Bill Pullman turns up, knowing when the drop would be, to rob Judge Reinhold. And that's the bit when he takes the money, but the cops keep shooting at the tyres of Bill Pullman's car, and he can't work out where the shots are coming from, and doesn't believe him that there's any police.
Well, he thinks that Judge Reinhold's shooting him.
Yeah.
He's like, I haven't got a gun.
He's like, you haven't, have you? That's the trick.
And Judge Reinhold's dressed up as a clown, going back to our Ronald McDonald conversation earlier on.
Yeah, they call him Bozo.
Yeah, they do.
That's it. I was going to say, actually, the imagery right at the beginning of this film, when they've got the duck masks on, I've seen that imagery 1,000 times and not known what film it's from. Like, just in kind of stills of, like, 80s movies.
I've been kidnapped by Huey and Dewey.
Huey and Dewey. Is that your Divine Miss M impression?
Yep.
And then there is the most reminiscent car chase of the OJ car chase I've ever seen.
The cars are going so slow, though. It's like the slowest
that's
car
what I mean.
chase.
It's properly the OJ car chase. Like, and like he's like, leave me alone. The cops will leave me alone or something. And he's driving like 20 miles an hour away to like Santa Monica. And every police car is chasing him in like the city, as far as you can tell. He gets to a pier and he does this whole thing about like, you won't take me alive or whatever, and then drives right into the pier. His car then drowns and all the money floats to like the surface, or loads of money floats. Yeah, some money then floats to the surface. Yeah.
I like all the people on the boardwalk were like, we don't want to go in there because we don't know what the water's like.
Yeah, they're all talking about like rift tides, aren't they? Like, yeah.
As soon as the water money comes up, they're all diving in.
Dane DeVito turns up and starts yelling at everyone for stop taking my money, and he's yelling at the police chief to stop him from taking the money and stuff. So the police then fish out the body that's in the car, and it ends up being the serial killer, the bedroom killer.
I don't know how he managed to do that bait and switch while drowning in the water, Judge Ronald. He's very skilled.
Very skilled. And they're like,
where did he hide the body in the car?
Exactly. It must have been the back seat, right? It must have been in the back seat. Because they pull out, and he's dressed exactly the same as the clown, as Judge Reinhold, and they're like, look, it's the serial killer. It all makes sense. And then you get the last second of Dane DeVito being like, well, we fucked this up, so my wife must be dead now. And again, he's like celebrating without showing it.
Yeah, he's like, well, that's the thing, like crying. If you look at someone laughing from behind or crying, they look the same. It's just that gyrating of
the whole film is him doing that in the background continuously. But at that point, Bette Midler turns up, and as like the police chief is walking, like the police, lieutenant and his partner's walking away, going, look at that true love. It's like, I always wanted to have a marriage that's that tight or something. You see like Bette Midler kick Dane DeVito's ass. And chuck him into the pier, or into like the bay. Then we cut to a random beach somewhere, and Judge Reinhold comes out ending. Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Judge Reinhold comes out in full like scuba gear, which apparently he just put on, like and he has the briefcase of money as well. So he has all the money, and he meets up with Helen Slater. And as they're kind of hugging and walking off, Bette Midler appears as well for some reason. And then it's freeze frame.
Yeah.
And I did want to mention one part, actually, that I forgot about, is Dane DeVito really hates Bette Midler's dog. And he's constantly trying to kill it throughout the whole film. And halfway through the film...
That would be the easiest thing for him to kill. Yeah. But he gets another dog.
He gets in that scene when he's ordering the dog, and he's like, "You attack dogs? Do they just attack people, or can you get them to attack other little dogs?"
Carol comes to visit him.
There's a pause for ages.
Well, Carol comes to visit him after she thinks he's murdered the wife.
Yeah.
And he's like, he doesn't care about speaking to her. He just goes, "Where can we get a big dog?" And he like, she thinks she wants to fuck a big dog, and he's like, "It's not for you, for me."
She says something like, "Look, I consider myself quite sexually liberated, but I think that might be a step too far for even me." Or something. He's like, "Not for you to like." I love that joke. And then he turns up in like the next scene, and the dog is like as big as Danny DeVito, and it's called him Adolf. And then at the end of the film, they turn on him as well because they make friends. The poodle and the big dog make friends, and they're tearing up his house. So everyone hates him. It's I enjoyed it. I actually did enjoy it.
It was just like you said, it's just a farce. Like you can imagine, like they'll do it differently, but I could see this being like a Coen Brothers film, but obviously done a bit differently. But like you look at Fargo and the whole kidnapping thing of that, or Intolerable Cruelty and stuff like that. You can
Burn After Reading as well.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Burn After Reading is probably the same level as this, but just not in the bawdy 80s kind of.
Yeah, different presentation.
You look at Brad Pitt's character in that. He's basically the Bill Pullman character.
Yeah, like absolutely.
A proper dumb, bleach blonde kind of vapid kind of character.
God, I want to see Danny DeVito in a Coen Brothers film. Why isn't that never happened?
Yeah, why has that not happened?
So good.
Because, like, if I remember, Death to Smoochie had a bit of that kind of vibe to it and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that was the era where Robin Williams was doing, like, his kind of... He was doing a lot of black comedies, wasn't he? Like,
yeah, but that's his wonderful directing, though, as well, isn't it? Because, like, Danny DeVito's got such a... I love his directing career. I really do. Like, I think it's like... Those films, I think, absolutely work. And Death to Smooch especially, I think is a great film. I haven't seen it in years, but I think it really holds up when I saw it.
You know, even Matilda, he made like a kids' film, quite creepy and
Matilda
stuff,
rules. Yeah.
You know,
but he directed Throw Mama from the Train, which is fucking brilliant. War of the Roses, Hoffa, and then later on he does like I've never seen.
Like his first leading role was the year before, like a year after he was able to direct a film. Do you know what I mean? And then War of the Roses, like a couple of years after that. It's
incredible, and I it's always hard to track, especially where that rising star just happened from. I think it's Romancing the Stone, but I think Taxi helps as well, of being just a huge TV star at the time. And I just think it's something about his personality and how he is on screen. He's the most unlikely person to ever lead a film, but I think he has such personality that seems to come across so warmly on screen. I think people really love him and people really connect to him in ways that is just entirely personality based, really. He's great. He's a great movie star. He is.
Did he produce Man on the Moon as well? Was he like?
I think so. Yeah, I think he.
And he produced Pulp Fiction as well. Like he was very instrumental in getting that made as well.
That's true. That's really true. He's actually done loads of producing. That's what he's been doing mainly in the last few years as well. He produced Erin Brockovich and Gattaca, Out of Sight. Like, it's crazy. It's
amazing career.
It honestly really is. It's an astonishing career, and he's wonderful. And he's wonderful in this. It's absolutely peak Danny DeVito, like, kind of presentation and acting and character. Like, it's just perfect marriage of him and, like, script, I think, really.
But no, I think it's a great film. Like, you know, you could have this as a double bill with like Raising Arizona or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
Just have a good time with it. Like, I love that in the video, the record shop or whatever, you know, the electronic shop. Like all the artwork is like that kind of spray painted graffiti art of like the full on 80s. Like, you know, it probably wasn't even printed. It probably was just hand sprayed or something. Like, it just has that proper texture of like just pure 80s. And like every scene like starts with a little bow chow wow, like a little kind of little riffy jingle kind of thing, like one of those like Harold Faltermeyer kind of like, you know, Beverly Hills Cop, just really over the top music, just to kind of at the beginning of the scene, and then it kind of trails off as the scene like carries on, and then the next scene comes in and again.
If I had seen this as a kid, I think I would appreciate in the same way I appreciate the other 80s comedies. I think it would just be like on a level for me.
100%.
Because I wouldn't have been able to distinguish it, I think. You know, like even his Trading Places or wherever have you, like, oh, well, that's kind of like just those films that are just so I've put on 1,000 times.
But even
Planes, Trains, you know.
Judd Reinhold has some nice moments, like, you know, like you see the spider and he's like, he rescues the spider and you think, oh, he's a really good guy. And he puts outside, but then he realises, oh, I've got to start being ruthless, and he just opens the door and stamps on the spider.
It's great. I think
Helen really Slater is probably the weakest one, but I don't think it's her fault. I just don't think the character's given much to do, really.
Nah,
unfortunately.
She just basically spends the entire time locked in that house, but
yeah,
she has the kind of important twist that she's just the nice person, really. That makes it so like Bette Midler kind of makes friends with her. But Bette Midler is just I don't know who Bette Midler is.
She's just a force, isn't she? A force of nature.
Yeah, she really is. And in this, she just is. It's a full on Bette Midler, like just full on performance and falling into it. Like, I really only know her from Hocus Pocus, I think, growing up. And then, you know, you got...
Beaches? Was she in Beaches? Yeah.
Yeah, she was in Beaches, yeah. I've never watched Beaches, I have to say. But she's, I like, First Wives Club, I think I know. And, like, but yeah, one just...
Aren't they bringing back Hocus Pocus again? Isn't that like... Are they doing that again?
Next year, there's going to be a sequel to Hocus Pocus.
I never really liked that film. I think you did, didn't you? I think.
Yeah, I liked it. I used to watch it quite a bit on VHS.
But I think for me, I watched it fairly recently, within the last 10 years, for the first time, and I think it's one of those ones you probably have to have watched.
Yeah.
As a kid to really kind of. I know it's got Omri Katz in it though, who from Erie, Indiana, and I think Thora Birch might be the young girl in it.
I think it is Thora Birch. Yeah. It is Thora Birch. It was just one of those films that got kind of co-opted by like, well, not co-opted, that's the wrong word to say. It just got embraced by like queer culture as well at some point. And at some point it just became a kind of like drag acts would do it and things. And
right.
It just became a bit of a cultural meme, really, I think.
It felt a bit like Nightmare Before Christmas, like two films that around the same time by Disney that just didn't do very well at the time, but have had like somehow just carried, like they've had a life of their own after
just cinema, just on VHS basically, kids putting it on all the time, or just being cheap to play on TV, which is sometimes how it happens as well. But I have fond memories of Hocus Pocus. I haven't watched it since I was a child. So, you know.
But no, I thoroughly enjoyed watching this film. It was a nice, brisk 90-minute runtime.
Yes.
And, you know, I watched it, I said to you this, I watched it like 4:30, 5 in the morning. And by... before 6 o'clock or 6:30, I'd finished.
I do have one weird question about the middle of this film. There's a bit where Anita Morris and Bill Pullman are in bed, and you hear like a machine, like a whirling of a machine, and it's then revealed that like he has a dustbuster in bed.
Oh, in the bed, yeah. Like they're using. Well, she does say she's quite sexually liberate, like open to stuff. So I guess, you know.
And she's like, "What are they doing with the dustbuster?" Like my mind went travelling in places.
So, what would you give this then out of 5?
I happily sit there at 3.5. You know,
like it's a
good film. I had a fun time with it.
It's unlike, you know, like say Vagabond we talked about the other week, and you know. It doesn't have the depth that kind of film has, but it's got a great like plot and some fun characters, and I just had a really good time watching it.
It has a bit of lulls with it. It's not quite like, you know, something like Airplane, which is just hits you continuously. Yeah. It has a bit of lulls, even though it's a short film. But
I wouldn't say it's lulls in a lull that you're bored.
No.
It's just it's just not joke. But
if this, I can see this just being something that I happily watch and exists, and you know, whatever. Like,
I'd watch this again.
It's cool.
So what are we talking about? Well, not next week, but in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, next time. So we should be doing the Cher classic Moonstruck.
Oh, awesome!
With Nick Cage. Get some Nick Cage on, which I think is Welcome Back to the Show, isn't it? Because he was on one of the first ones.
Yeah, our very first main episode.
First one, yeah.
And I think we've got our resident Cher expert helping us out on that as well, who actually has played Cher multiple times on television.
Multiple times now, yeah. So we're doing a Cher special.
Yeah.
Should be good.
With Cher
in the
herself.
80s special. With Cher herself. I'm looking forward to it. I've been wanting to watch this film for such a long time, so I'm looking forward to it.
I've never seen her act in anything, so I'm interested to watch. No, I've seen Mask. I've seen Mask.
Oh, I love Silkwood. Watch Silkwood. She's so good in that film.
Anyway, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on whatever you listen to us on. We're also on Twitter. We are at AdjustYourTrack. That's with a YR, not a your. And please don't forget, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.